Hello, everybody. Technically, we are early to being late. While everybody's having a final day this Tuesday. It is episode 144 of Stat Check. I am Innes. I'm joined by Jeremy for the WTC pre-list prediction show. We're going to be talking about this week's stats. We're going to be talking about our predictions for the WTC that's upcoming. We have list submission this Sunday, which means that all the lists will be in your filthy grubby hands by probably Monday or Tuesday. I'm sure
whenever they decide to put the pack out.
And I mean, it'll be leaked. So it'll somewhat like the Dutch will make a document that'll be circulated everywhere within 24 hours anyway.
What? Not the Germans?
Someone will do it. It was the Dutch last year, so
that's fair.
So someone will have their BCP scraper scrape all the lists and just dump it into the world. And
it might be a little bit more difficult with the new settings on BCP.
I'm sure someone will. I'm sure someone can manage to get their account not banned for 20 minutes to scrape all the lists.
Thankfully, it doesn't ban. It just like rate limits you. So
yeah, I'm relying on it personally. So, it's going to be a late night on Monday.
I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone managed to cook up and who spent too much time in the kitchen.
Exactly, and that's what we're here for today. We're going to be talking about what we think are the cooks and what we think is the kitchen and what we think is the delicious food that all of you guys will be eating come lists and the usual shake-up that happens to the metagame after WTC because everything gets thrown in the air and it's like, oh, was that good the whole time or were we just idiots? And you'll never know because
just no one planned for that, and it turns out it was really good in that one moment.
Yeah. What's Olivier Weiss playing this year? Does Australia still have 300 Terminators? Like, there are so many things you could ask this year, right?
Well, Dean's not playing this year, so probably no Terminators.
No, but like they could have hundreds. I mean, we don't know. They're available to Emperor's Children, Space Marines, Death Guard. Like they could have all of them.
Sons.
Yeah, they could be playing Death Lords Chosen, 30 Blight Lords for all we know.
30 Blight Lords, 18 Destro. Let's go.
Exactly. Like they could do it. We there's no earthly way of knowing. So I look forward for one to seeing all the lists in the region. But besides that, we do have all of the usual. We have the stats that came out of the last week. Jeremy will be going through some of those in a much more refined manner than what we cobbled together last week. But in other words, I hope everyone's doing well. But before we do any of that, Jeremy, how you doing, man? How you been?
Been a while since I've been on the show. I'm doing well. Life and work's been kicking my ass, but it's been going well. I was down in Edmonton for the Warhammer Open because they're no longer the U.S. Opens because they've gone international finally. And that
they were international very briefly before.
Fest doesn't count.
Fair enough. It's mean, but fair enough.
They haven't gone back for whatever reason. Would be nice.
So that shipping terrain internationally is expensive?
Yeah, but there's now like a UK events team, so maybe they will just start doing opens in the UK.
That'd be nice.
It'd be kind of fun. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was a little weird helping run an open at a con. I've done it locally before, but it's just it was very fun to like have people wandering around who were clearly just there to go check out that particular video game booth. And then walking up and just seeing everyone playing Warhammer, wondering what the hell these 300 nerds are here for.
I wonder that every time, to be fair. So,
look, it was just supposed to be something to keep me busy while I learned more about 3D printing.
I'm not entirely sure that's accurate, but I'll take your word for it.
At the moment, it was. And then, of course, I couldn't get away from it. But yeah, no, things have been going well. I've got a little 3-man team event this upcoming weekend with Dan and Alice. That should be a blast.
Nice. What are you playing for that one?
EC, Thousand Suns, Votan, Wrath of the Rock. We haven't decided yet.
So the answer is idea, basically.
Yeah, could be pretty much. I think Dan's on GSC, and that's about as far as we got.
That seems reasonable, yeah. It's a pretty good army.
Every time he picks that army up, he can't put it back down. And I blame you.
It's a really easy drug to get hooked on.
It really is, and he really enjoys it.
Yeah. It's really tough to go from playing an army that gets its stuff back to playing an army that when it loses its stuff, it's just gone. And I really like the only reason I could get away with playing Ynnari is because I had the Rain Brick, right? That was really all it was I could be like, and it died, and then they're back. It's cool. It's like me and my friends, or we get to keep hanging out. And then I play Space Marines, and I'm like, my Vindicator is gone, and I have to wait till next game to use it again. But I brought that to use. Gene still covers that for you.
Yep.
So yeah.
Apparently Seth got himself a nice FDM printer.
Ooh, very nice.
That was one of the really fun things. Dan, Bone of the Red Dragon, and a good friend of mine, he managed to finally finish his Helm's Deep scale. Uh,
I saw
dot
pictures of that. That thing was enormous.
had it is so it is Helm's Deep, the full like fortress battle, everything with and it is to 28 millimeter scale, and it has something like 5,000 minis accompanying it of like elves and orcs and Rohirrim.
Or one floof army, as I hear it's colloquially known.
And that'd be one of your armies too.
Yeah, probably. But I steal them from floof, so it's fine. It
That's true.
counts.
They are the one that comes up with it.
I don't innovate. I just perfect. That's what I'm going with right now.
It's worked out so far for you.
I'm going great. As for myself, it's been a busy week on the content side. I did the masterclass with Dave Gaylord for 40 Fireside, which I'll touch on later, and an Art War Down Under 2 Martyr with Adam Camilleri with Brian Sype. So yeah, a bunch of stuff to talk about later. And then been prepping in the absolute mines for WTC. I'm at the point where no one wants to test against Gene Circle anymore. So I'm playing everyone else's army for them into other things. So like, can we get reps into? Can we get reps into? Can we get reps into? I'm just like, I play games with Imperial Knights. I feel my brains leaking out my ears and everything in between. It's
Going
getting
from
to the
playing
point where
160 models to 16 models.
it's getting to the point where I'm playing coaches just so they'll let me play GSC against them. I'm like, can you let me play a game against GSC, please? No one
I'm
else wants to
amazed that you
demand.
want to
No
play
one else wants.
GSC on fucking TTS.
Look, sometimes you've just got to play, right? It just I need to
I
see
don't know
this
about
matchup.
that.
I need to see this. I need to try this board. I need to play the new goddamn supply drop on tipping point. I didn't know it could get worse than on Hammer. It was so bad on Hammer.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely worse on, especially with the maps you gave them.
They're better than the old ones.
They're better than the older ones, that's fair, but I think it's just tipping points cursed.
Tipping point's difficult mission to make maps for. Um, so yeah, it's been an interesting set of affairs for me the last couple of weeks. So yeah, but I'm very much looking forward. We have a little event on Sunday, and then I have got a teams practice weekend on the weekend immediately after, and then we have a team tournament down in England the weekend after, and then the weekend after that it's WTC basically because of Fly on the Monday.
Yeah,
So
Jesus,
just
that is
pure chaos now, right?
really coming
So
up on you fast.
it really is, yeah. I think I have one weekend off between now and then, and I will probably be committed to doing a practice weekend that weekend as well. It's just not in the calendar yet.
Wild.
As always, I've also signed up for War Masters because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I keep just missing Top Cut. Just missing Top Cut. Like for 2022, I lost to the guy that won. 2023, I drew, and then I drew into Top Cut and or drew into Shadowrun and then lost to um, Quentin, who made top four on Eldar. And then last year I forgot War Gear, lost by 1 point, and then missed Top Cut. I was like, so this year I'm gonna have my list
Wire
submitted.
Watchers War Gear.
No, don't worry about it. I'm gonna have my list submitted with all the War Gear. I'm gonna win my games. I'm gonna make Top Cut this year. That's the goal,
All
and I
right.
can't
You
stop
gonna have
until I've
someone
done it.
check your list to make sure it's actually complete?
Yes, 100%. I did that for last one as well, but everyone else was just like, "Yeah, Watchers, War Gear, right? Why are they optional? They're not optional. They're just there." So yeah, this year I've not actually decided what I'm playing for War Masters yet. I booked luggage so that I can play whatever I want, just in case. But I'm not sure yet. I think we'll see. We'll see. I want to see what the team's metagame looks like before I make any decisions because you can kind of infer a lot of what the metagame's going to look like because of the team metagame. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think that is us into the stats section of the show. Jeremy, do you want to take it away for the first professional version of the stats bit in like a month?
Yeah, it's been kind of chaotic. All right, there are still some factions that I need to double check here. Not factions, detachments, but I do have a pretty good breakdown of the weekend. So there were, I believe, 9 events, just over 600 players. So a quiet weekend compared to the last few, which is just wild when you think about it. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, for the last 12 weeks, we've averaged 800 players a weekend at GTs, which is madness. We've had 4 weekends with over 1,000 players, and yeah,
That is a
that
lot of players.
It used to be that like we had LVO and LGT that were the 1,000-player weekends, and that's it. And now we're hitting them on like, we've hit
Tuesdays.
the yeah. No, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Yeah, since the beginning of the year, we've had 10 weekends with over 1,000 players.
Yeah, and
Which
we're
is
effectively in like the Tuesday of the week of the year, right? Like this is not the busy season. Busy season is usually like September through November, right? So
yeah, it'd be interesting to see what numbers LVO hits this year with the new equation.
the move,
But
being the weekend
yeah,
after LG, the weekend like immediately after LGT and everything in between. Yeah,
weekend after Challengers Cup as
Challenge
well
Cup.
for any team for a lot of the teams players. That'd be interesting. All right, so talking about stats, we've got. I'm just gonna start at the bottom because it's funny. As usual, excluding any army that doesn't have 10 or more players. And we're just going to go from there. So the worst army in the game right now is apparently Custodes. Which, is it just when we make fun of Custodes players that they just start shitting the bed and losing all their games?
I just think that they're all allergic to being looked at. Like custodies are under observation just much worse than they are in isolation. Um, yeah, they exist in a superposition of terrible and amazing, and by observing them, you force them into that position on a week by week basis.
Okay, so they are. Yeah, I
Also,
can
every
definitely.
custodies player is just playing Thousand Suns and Knights right now, right? None of them have any
Or
moral
Death Guard.
backbone. Or Death Guard, yeah. None of them have any moral backbone. People don't play custodies. People play custodies because they're the cheapest army to buy, and then the second they realize that they're not the best, they'll move on.
Well,
That's
they're
all
definitely not
custodies
playing
play.
Thousand Suns yet. Then,
Well, that's true.
but Knights definitely.
Knights definitely.
Oh yeah,
Knights.
so
Big
Custodes
time.
26 players, 4.2% of the meta, so average meta rep. But they had a 39.9% win rate this weekend
It's quite low. That is quite low.
across 70 games. No, more than that. No, 114 games. Then we have Grey Knights with 14 players with a 41.4% win rate. By the way, Custodes had no top fours. Neither do Grey Knights.
Bad time for 3 wound assholes with invulnerable saves.
Yeah, it really is. Especially when they're strength 10 or strength 9 and you're T4 suddenly.
Yeah, good. Stuff them.
All right. Space Marines are next, hilariously, because they won the biggest event of the year or the month. But they also were that was also their only top 4 all weekend. So despite Josh's best efforts, they had a 44.3% win rate, one event
Josh,
win,
you just need to buff Space Marines again, dude. What are we
one top
like?
4, and a 0.46 over rep. And then we have Orcs, 21 players, 3.4% of the meta, a 45.5% win rate, but still no top 4s. And rounding out the bottom 5 that have 10 or more players, we have World Eaters. Where's Anthony when you need him? I want to make fun of him.
Hiding from the World Eaters meta game. Anthony's terrified his army's too broken for him.
I'm sure that's the case.
The problem is that if Anthony sees World Eaters with that low a play rate, he'll have to come out of retirement and play singles. So he's just
Well,
avoiding
here's the
this
thing.
now.
It's not a low play rate. There were 35 players that made up 5.6%
Okay.
of the meta.
He's
with a
avoiding how
45.7%
terrible every
win
other
rate.
World Eaters player is.
Yeah, that's fair. We got to apparently we have to bring back CRS.
Christ. I could be top of that one again instead of Yellow, where I'm like 5th right now. Ugh, disgusting.
That was fun sitting in like the top 20 for it because I was just playing Dark Angels when they were like dog shit at 9th.
I miss CRS. I miss being able to be like, yeah, but our stats say that I'm the best. So
I mean, you were first in Elo every now and then. You just got to play more singles.
I know. It's so hard to justify playing singles right now. I skipped
Especially in
Mordaki
this
metagame intentionally, man. It wasn't for like lack of desire. It was for lack of desire to lose repeatedly to Mordaki and feed.
All right. And then we've got the top end. So, do you want to guess number 5?
Oh, I think. Let me double check if that's any better. Is that better?
I believe so.
Cool. I'm gonna trust people. I think
Yes,
it
you're
reset
much better.
Cool. Everything it reset when I joined the Discord call. Top 5. Imperial Knights.
They are number 1.
Number 1. I was hoping
48 players, 7.7% of the meta, so 1 in 12 players
too many.
is Knights. They won 2 of the 9 events this weekend. They also had 7 top 4s for a 2.54 over rep and a 59.5%
I don't like
rate.
that it's that high. Just at all.
Like 60% with index.
Yeah, it's more than it should be.
I mean, when you can fit 4 bigs and 4 smalls in a list, something's gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, I think Davin who's been in chat a little bit said it best when he's like, "Yeah, I played against the Knights player and he lost 2 big Knights and I was like, oh, this is just back where I started last patch, and then kept going."
Not
and
not quite that crazy, but very close.
not far off if you're playing 5.
Yep. Yeah, because before you could fit 3 big and 4 small. Now you can fit with like an agent, and now
Yeah,
it's
you know, you
4
get
big and
4
4
big,
small.
4 small, or 4
Yeah,
big,
you can run
3 small and
Canis, triple
agents.
Atropos, 4 Helverins, and that's like 2,000 on the nose, I think. Makes me sick. Makes my
Yeah,
Votan very happy.
yeah, it's a lot.
I have no choice about my tokens. It's just those 4 bigs.
Sometimes you pick something else because you know Canis is going to get tokens himself,
It's true.
and you don't need to kill him early, right? So you might as well pick the Helverin that's farthest forward deployed.
That is true. It
'Cause
is
that
very
one's never
fun. It is
finishing
very
anything.
fun wounding them on 2s with
Yeah,
with
that thing's
the
never
beam
winning
cannon.
anything. So
Also true. Speaking of Votan, they are the second best army in the game right now. 20 players to 3.2% of the meta, a 57.4% win rate, but they only managed 1 top 4, and they have a 0.87 over rep.
God, like, I know this is rich me saying this, but if Votan were a spice, they'd be flour. Why are people playing them?
Oh, I mean, they because they're solid. They're
You know,
boring as
flour is
hell.
great, but you don't invite it to
There's
your
like
birthday
no room
party.
to innovate left in that index, but they do well. And
Even Greg Chamberlain gave up on it, guys. Come on, what are we doing? Stop playing Votan.
Look, when Tim stops playing it, that's when we get worried.
That's probably fair.
When he's back on Orcs,
I mean,
that's
Tim
when we
played a
really worry
Stompa,
about
right?
Votan's health. Pardon?
Tim intentionally played an event with a Stompa.
Well, yeah, he's an Orc player first and foremost.
Exactly.
All right. Number 3, Death Guard. 61 players, 9.7% of the meta. Ow.
That's 1 in 10 players is a Death Guard.
57.2% win rate. 1 event win. 2 top 4s. But because of their very high rep, they only have a 0.57 over rep. But when you make up 1 in 10 players, it's
They're 1 in 10 players, and they're only 1 in 20 top 4s, so it's fine.
yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's not like there's 28 factions right now.
There's not. There's like 7, and Death Guard are 3 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, the top 3 armies make up 20% of the meta.
And you have to remember that 20% of the metagame at all times exists in Space Marines. So they are, 15% of the non-Space Marine metagame.
Yep. But they make up half of the top 4s.
It's a lot.
Across those
Quite a
3
lot.
armies. Number 4, we've got Thousand Suns. Another perfectly balanced army. Also 20 players with 3.2% win rate, or 3.2% of the meta, and a 57.1% win rate. So they are, I think it's like they're 4 games behind Votan in terms of wins.
Also a pretty good, pretty broken army.
Yep. But no event wins and only a single top 4, 0.87. So clearly they need some buffs.
God, I feel so sorry for them. Notably, the Leeds Super Major did absolutely batshit out of nowhere rule that Zangor Shamans and Infernal Masters on Disc just couldn't join Zangor Enlightened because it's not a keyword,
Zangor
it's a
Enlightened
rooted
with
name.
Fate Caster Great Bows.
Yeah, they could only join the other ones for some stupid reason, and stuff that ruling. Honestly, God, I hate people. Yep. I hate rulings. People should go back to fist fighting in car parks over rulings.
Just 4 up, boy. Every game you get to 4 up to see if your Zangor is going to attach to.
Like a stressful way to play a tournament.
Don't worry, Joey Garden. We'll get a detached breakdown on the K-Suns win rates. And then rounding up the top 5, we have Genestealer Cults with 10 players, a 1.6% of the meta. You are, in fact, we'll talk about CK in a minute because it got weird. 10 players, 1.6% of the meta, 55.6% win rate, 1 event win, 2 top 4s for a 3.48 over rep.
Okay.
Honorable mention to Dark Angels, who managed a 2.01 over rep with 26 players, with a 53.3% win rate and 3 top 4s.
Let's go.
Chaos Knights, 32 players, 5.1% of the meta, and a 48.7% win rate. But they did manage to win 1 event and top 4 2 others, so a 1.09. So Chaos Knights apparently are perfectly balanced.
Are we allowed to say it's controversial that I think that like Chaos Knights are like a little too good, but are broadly okay? And if they were like in a metagame that Imperial Knights weren't also in, they'd probably be totally fine. but it's the combination of both of them that's really problematic. Because the second that
I think if
Imperial
there
Knights are
wasn't
good,
Imperial Knights in the meta right now or Death Guard, Chaos Knights might be a little too strong.
yeah, I think that's totally fair. And I think if you like took the context of the second that you double how good the two knight armies are together, only the best one is going to look outstanding because it's the only
Oh,
one
I
that
see
can
what you're saying.
overcome how much targeted hate there becomes for the faction.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I still hate that army. Why did they let big knights have fight first? What?
That was definitely a choice.
It certainly was a choice. I'm not convinced it was a good one, but it was one.
But yeah,
Struggling.
so yeah. Any others that we want to take a look at before we hop into some?
Where were Blood Angels as the other big buffed faction that everyone's scared of?
Blood Angels had 31 players, a 5% of the meta, a 47.9% win rate, but they couldn't win an event and they couldn't get a top 4. So they had a 0. In fact,
Blood Angels.
no, sorry. There
I've
was
said
one
this
army with a higher win rate than Blood Angels that also didn't manage any top 4s, and that was Drukari. Aside from that, for their rep, they basically just kind of punted it.
Yeah, I think BR like that army that really struggles to get better than 4-1 because it just has a couple of existentially awful matchups and they're kind of sketchy in singles, but they're still really good.
Yep,
I would
that
be
sounds right.
perfectly comfortable playing them for a super major right now. But
Yeah, let's talk about faction breakdowns.
Blood Angels need buffs though. I think that's what I'm really getting at. I don't think Sanguinary Guard should be twice as expensive. It should be more expensive. I think it should be cheaper when you play 6-mans because then you have to play 6-mans. Should be 110 200 for 6 and for 3 and 6. I think that'd be fine.
Are they 110 220? Are they
And
110
110 240 right now. I think it should be 110 200. I think it should be cheaper for the second 3.
I actually kind of
because you don't get a second banner, so it should be less, right?
All right. Let's talk Custodes because I just had a hilarious chuckle at this. So their 40% win rate is off the back of their 16 players playing Lions of the Emperor with a 41.9% win rate.
Sure, Lions is a tough place to be right now.
Just
Big Knight, if Big Knights move sideways, if Big Knights crab walk, it's really hard to get 2 units into combat with it without giving up your Lions buff. So if you play against a Big Knight player who's willing to sacrifice immersion to screw you, they will do it, and it's really annoying.
Sounds about right. Yeah. We've got. Let's go down to
What was the most winning detachment for Custodes Lion for Custodes?
I mean, everything after that was like 1 or 2 players, but it was Talons. One person who went 3 and 2.
Okay, so it's not Solar Spearhead with Canis Rex, which you guys should
No,
just
there were 3
do
people
that
that played Solar Spearhead, but they managed a 50% win rate. So
it's respectable. It's better than Lions.
yeah, oh yeah, it definitely is more respectable than Lions.
Canis, 3 Caladius, 3 Talamons. Do it. Don't be a coward. You'll win the Night Mirror.
Jesus,
you're just playing Knights, but you'll win the Mirror.
Playing Knights, but half your army has a 2-up save instead of a 3-up save.
And it's not Titanic, so the Chaos Knight matchup's a little easier.
That is very true. Blood Angels, 48% win rate.
People play detachments other than Lag?
They do. 2 people played Angelic Inheritors and managed a 55% win rate. And the other 29 of them, and then the other 29 players all played Lag and had a 47% win rate. So good job, boys.
Good job. Keep me in a list for LGT. That's all I need you guys to do. Just don't get Blood Angels nerfed before LGT, and I'll be all right. All right.
So
guys?
Demons have a hilarious story. Demons have a 50.4% win rate this weekend. 28 players. 11 of them play Shadow Legion, which had a 43.9% win rate.
That's tough. That's a bad number. That's not a good number.
And 12 of them play Demonic Incursion for a 59.3% win rate.
That's a better number. I like that number. You should do that number better.
It tells me that Argath is eating really, really well right now.
I broadly agree. Look, the King of Blades did not come to fuck about. I think that's the
Yeah. Because the Fade Thirster just kind of, if he bounces off something, he disappears.
The Fade Thirster is prone to fading in the fight phase, not at the end of the fight phase right now.
Yeah. Whereas
also,
Argath,
trying to kill Big Knights with Fight on Death, it's sketchy as shit for that guy.
Oh yeah.
Whereas at least Argrath knows he's going down with the ship.
Yeah. So if I remember last weekend, Chaos Knights, what was Lords of Dread? Their win rate.
Oh, it was stupidly high, like 68 or something like that.
Well, it's 50% this weekend.
Good. People have learned that you can run units with 6OC, and it's not illegal in Warhammer.
People are like, what if we just,
Did you know 3-man Sanguinary Guard squads have 6OC? It's a good metagame.
They have 6 or 9.
3-mans, it's 3. It's 2 OC each because they get +1 on their only base 1. They're not as cool as Indestructible Companions.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about.
Yeah, they have to.
But Infernal Lance, there were only 4 people, but they did manage a 66% win rate.
Also, shout out to Ratnu, who went 7-0 and finished second at Leeds with the double despoiler, double Gatling cannon despoiler in Infernal Lance.
I played into that the other day. It was a very similar list, and it hurt. Despoilers just being able to choose, depending on what they go into, sustained or lethal, and then just kind of going. And then with the rocket for a hit or wound reroll, it's kind of like, so, ow, please make it stop.
It's a cool list.
Yeah.
I think I prefer Infernal Lance to Lords of Dread, unfortunately. Yeah. Lords of Dread's got a really cool strat, but I think the damage output just need... Like, Lords of Dread would be great if Imperial Knights didn't exist, but Imperial Knights do exist, so you kind of just need to damage check people with Chaos Knights.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think Infernal Lance does that better. You're going to die anyway. You might as well die fighting.
And what detachment is Cabal of Chaos? Oh, that's the
new one. That's the Demon Prince one.
We finally saw someone who played it, and they played 2 games, lost both of them, and then dropped from their event.
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. That detachment's dog.
Dark Angels, Wrath of the Rock, 20 players, 55.7% win rate. They finally learned to stop taking Hell Blasters. Thank you, Innis.
You did it! I'm so proud of my boys. My boys. They all learned to just play Van Vets. Holy shit, the Van Vets are so good.
I wish I had Van Vets. You're gonna make me go buy and paint some.
Just get like all you need to do is get like 10 assault intercessors and stick some old jump packs to them. Assault intercessor jump packs and stick shields on them, dude. It's just they're not that hard.
I might have enough, but even so, I might just buy them because the Vanguard Vet kit has a ton of cool bits in it.
Dude, it is ancient. I do not recommend it. They are so tiny.
I'm building Drukhari right now. I don't really care about ancient.
I put them all on. I no, mine are all of my Vanguard veterans are assault intercessor models because it hurts.
No. Like I was gonna take the JPI kit and the Vanguard veteran kit and smoosh.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
All right, Death Guard. So Death Guard, we had their worst faction was Virulent Victorum, 28 players and a 50.4% win rate, which is pretty good. And then you had Mortarian's Hammer, 14 players and a 64.2% win rate. Solid. And then we had Champions of Contagion, 12 players and a 69% win rate.
I'm sorry, what?
Champions of Contagion had a 69% win rate with 12 players.
I don't believe that's a real detachment. I think people are still lying to me when they tell me they like it. Because I'm pretty sure I would like dance if I got to play against Champions of Contagion instead of Hammer or Virulent.
So Champions of Contagion outscored their opponents by an average of 15 points.
Sure.
Which is...
I have no context if that's good or not.
So normally the difference is like 2 or 3 points. Like a perfectly balanced army, you're basically scoring the same as your opponent on like the aggregate.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Every
My
5
app
points
is lying very much about what stats look like to me. Then
we know you're not balanced, Dennis. You don't have a 50% win rate.
Sure, but I still just imagine like when you win, do you not like? Oh no, we're not talking about when you win. We're talking about in aggregate.
Yes,
your score
in aggregate.
That makes more sense. I was like,
no.
When you win, you win by more than 2 most of the time.
Yeah, like if we wanted to look at like your win margin, the win margin for Death Guard is like 27. The only one that's higher than that is hilariously Blood Angels,
which makes sense. When Blood Angels wins, it wins real hard.
Yeah, Blood Angels I think also have the second highest loss margin.
That also makes sense. When it loses, it's 20 Space Marines with a defensive profile of non-existent.
Hilariously enough, it looks like it's Blood Angels and Emperor's Children, both with like the first and second highest and highest win margin and loss margin, because both are win more. Yeah. So Champions of Contagion, not a real army. Please don't play it.
Look, I would love to play against. This is the one that has the +2 toughness stratagem, right?
Yep. So you can make
That's very funny. That is very funny. I do enjoy that.
9
Yep.
Terminators.
Yep. Great, man. I'm just don't care. My solo still has 240 points left. What should you draw after that? Calidus, 3 squads of Witch Seekers. Ship it. 2 squads of Witch Seekers, a Prosecutor. Whatever that fills into 240 points.
I think you can do 2 Witch Seekers, 1 Prosecutor, and the Calidus. That should be 240 on the nose.
That sounds perfect to me. That's an army. You could win a GT with that.
Probably, especially if you pair into nothing but Knights and Chaos Knights.
Drop one of the Caladius for double Vendreads, the stand back up ones. Maybe you could.
I think you do. It gives you at least a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, you make sure you got like the Feel No Pain enhancement in there and stuff. You've already got Canis in 2 like you don't need even more. Something like that. That'd be fine. You could do that. I think you'd win with that. Don't be a coward.
All right. Emperor's Children. Everyone's still playing Coterie, and they had a 49% win rate. Cool. 4 people decided that playing Peerless Blazeman was a good idea and got a 33% win rate.
Sure. It's a bad detachment.
Yeah. No, it's pretty brutal. What do we have left? I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, Thousand Suns Grand Coven had 17 of their 20 players and a 59.9% win rate.
If you exclude leads from that stats, what does it look like?
Exclude leads?
Yeah, because they'd had the ruling, right, on the Bogoats.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point. Chunk. I mean, it's the biggest event of the weekend, but
I know, but we're
so Thousand Suns Grand Coven goes up to 51.6%.
See,
so it's My favorite though is that outside of there was also one person that played Rubrikai Phalanx who went 0-4.
Nids exist. Nids are all playing Subterranean Assault.
Tyranids do exist.
They're all playing Sub-Assault.
So half and half. Half of them are playing Subterranean Assault and half of them are playing Invasion Fleet. Do you want to guess the win rates for those two?
53 for Sub-Assault, 39 for Invasion Fleet.
You were really close to Invasion Fleet. 40 for Invasion Fleet and 59 for Subterranean.
Yeah. Look, I really like Invasion Fleet. Subterranean Assault has that like first line of its rules decks that just didn't need to be there.
Why does it reroll once?
I don't really know. Like, realistically, right? Okay, real talk. I don't think Tyranids like need nerfs. But if you were gonna nerf Nids, if you were gonna nerf Subterranean Assault, you just change that to units that set up using a tunnel get reroll ones to hit for the turn, right? You just do that, right?
That'd be perfectly reasonable and would actually make sense within the context of the detachment, not just we felt like this detachment was missing something. Here's reroll ones army wide.
Yeah, like it'd still basically be always on for everything you care about, but it wouldn't just be like, hey, blanket reroll ones is a fine army rule, right? Everything should just do 17% more damage.
It should. 17% more than 0 is still 0.
Poor gargoyles.
Fine. The Flappy Boys do what they need to do.
Do we want to talk about the meat and potatoes of this week?
Yeah.
All right. So I have prepared a slideshow, but it's not really a slideshow. Really, it's a sideways tier list, which isn't really a thing, but I'm calling it a sideways tier list because it makes me happy. So we are doing the WTC 40K predict the team's gamey thing, which I'm doing in Canva. Don't worry about it. This is just the easiest way I could think to do this. So our plan this week is to go through all the actions in the game and talk about what we think their numbers are going to be at WTC this year. I have provided 7 clean categories. Nobody loves us tier for armies that we don't think will have anybody. 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 19, 20 to 30, 31 to 41, and the vaunted 42 tier. There are 42 teams at WTC this year. If we think any army is going to make
42 teams, how are they doing pods?
There is 1 pod of 6, from what I understand, which will have 3 pool 2 seeds, or 3 pool 4 seeds, and will be played as a Swiss tournament as opposed to as a pod, I believe, is the plan.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just odd numbers. It needed to be done. I think there's like one there. I don't even know if there's a UN team this year, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like last time we had a number like this, we just tossed in 2 UN teams.
No, the last time there was 2 yen teams was because there was an odd number, and then a team dropped, but they had already assembled the UN team, so they assembled another UN team on short notice. Was why there was 2 UN teams. And then
you could
before that,
probably
it was just there
field
was-
16 Austrians in here and even it out.
yeah, there
No.
is a UN team this year, which puts us at 42 instead of 41. But I feel like putting 3 UN teams together was probably excessive.
Yeah. I'm surprised there's so little growth. Wasn't there 40 teams last year?
I think so. I don't actually know. 40 sounds right because of 4 pods of.
Yeah, there were 10 pods of 4.
Yeah. I mean, new location, right? The last one was the 3rd year in a row in Mechlin. This is the first in a new location. And always, there's always ups and downs with that. All right, so I have this abomination of a sheet that I'm going to copy and paste and click and drag things over from. Where does chat want us to start? Let's have some predictions. Do we want to go high to low, left to right? I've got them bundled by Imperium, Space Marines, Xenos, and Chaos.
Want to do it alphabetical just to mess with your sorting?
I mean, you do it however you want, man. I really don't care.
All right, let's talk Adeptus Sororitas then.
All right, Adeptus Sororitas. Where are the Sisters of Battle going for you? Where do you think? And why? That's the caveat. We'll do them one at a time. We'll alternate.
That's always the fun one.
You got to do the why for the army you picked.
I would probably say 1 to 5.
All right.
I don't think it's going to be 0 because there's always one Sisters player at WTC. There's always going to be someone who thinks
Iceland.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have at least one. But they're not in an amazing place right now. They do play really well into things like World Eaters, Empress Children, Blood Angels. It's basically, if you're a melee army, they can.
I mean, are we specifically talking about like a Champions of Faith build with like the 30 seconds and stuff, or Hallowed Martyrs? We're looking at Bringers of Flame here. Hallowed Martyrs specifically. Okay.
Like I think there's still some play in Champions, but in terms of Hallowed is just a really solid. You know what? I'm just going to mess with your melee army by Suffering and Sacrifice,
heroic intervention with 2 up save canonesses.
Yeah, and force them to fight you, and then stand back up afterwards and be like, "This is still my point."
Fair. Okay, so you think 1 to 5. I would have said about the same. I don't think there's going to be a ton of these. I think they're an army that you really need somebody who really doesn't have any reason to be on anything else, which is a hard line to find, right? Like they are a blunter army, but they are not the best, so you kind of need 2 of them if you're going to really want these, right? Are they doing this job better than something like Necrons or Custodes or something else in that equivalent weight class of stand objectives, win games, or at least don't lose games?
So what I'm hearing is JSJ is going to be on them.
Oh, almost definitely not. JSJ, I assume, has just decided that it's a nightmare game and is bringing it. If he's playing them, he's playing like 9 Paragons or something.
Fair. Actually, no, he'll probably just play CK.
Probably. All right, who's up next? This is my one.
All right. Custodes.
Adeptus Custodes. Oh, okay. So I want to put them down here because I think they should be. I really think that I would not be shocked if there were none, but I think they're going to be here because I think there will be enough people that think that they can ride the lightning, that they can like take a light board against the Knight army and keep it close, and that there are some people who just like are Custodes players that are pretty comfortable with them. I very much see a world where there's probably a few of them. They are all probably unhappy and their team's 8th list. But I think that they exist, they will be there, and there is no world that there is none of them because, I mean, people just love people. If you've got a Necrons player and a Custodes player, you can probably throw that guy anything as a double grenade. Just like go and get me 7, they will get it for you. And I feel like I'm pretty happy saying that they'll probably fall into that sort of bracket.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right, next up,
we've got. I believe it's the Adeptus Mechanicus. It is the Adeptus Mechanicus.
I'm going to open my app so I don't have to keep asking you. Adeptus Mechanicus. All right, Jeremy, where are the AdMech?
0? I don't know. Maybe 1 to 5. They're definitely not an army that
we're never going to fill this if we don't think.
Yeah,
right?
Honestly, I think that it is not unlikely that no one brings them because where the meta's at right now, it's damn hostile to them.
Yeah, it's a tough army to be. I don't think they're the best at anything. Their gimmick doesn't work amazingly well into Knights because the damage check is pretty rough into them. Like I keep looking at stuff like Breachers and be like, is there a world where like Breachers and Skystalkers can get over the line against the Knights metagame? But it just feels too volatile for no real reason. The Sidonian Dragoons are hilarious anti-Knight profiles, by the way, if you don't run them. They are 4 attack, sustained hits 2, anti-Walker 2+. And then when you run them in Assault Doctrine, they are also +1 to hit and +1 AP, which means that they are AP 3 and hit on 3s with sustained hits 2, which means they average a squad of 6 of them, or a squad of 3 of them, averages the full 12 hits, averages 10 wounds at AP 3, and still doesn't kill a big Knight. So, it's a really tough place to be.
If you want to make things funny, though, learn them in Halo Screen and give them crit 5s.
There you go. That's the miss that we were missing.
Crit
All right,
fives
next
rule
up we
ones to
have
hit and wound. There we go. Maybe they might kill a big knight then with 6 of them.
all right. We have Eldari. All right, I think teams love Eldar. Plenty of people have Eldar.
Yeah, I'd say that. I'd say that
I don't think
they're
they're hitting half. I don't think they're hitting half population, but I think so many teams have an Eldar player that just like only plays Eldar and is the best at playing with that extra 6 inches of board that they're still on that 6x4. I think there's a very real world where Fuegan and Fire Dragons are still the meta hotness and are still really good. I think there's plenty of power in armies like Aspect Host. There's stuff like the Harlequins data sheets. I could see a world where like the Ghost and the Webway style builds Poland were playing back in February with like 30 Swooping Hawks and a bunch of Haywire bikes is a very real world. I could see that being the kind of thing teams have been looking to for like night answers and things like that. And I would not be surprised. I also don't think they're going to be like in every comp because they do require some protection. They are an interesting army, but not one that I think we're going to see for everyone. And moving Wave Serpents on these boards is truly miserable sometimes, which is not my favorite.
It certainly can be.
All right, you've got Guard.
I do. Guard. Well, I know there's going to be at least one because what else is John from Canada going to run? But I'd probably put them in, I don't know, right now, Guard are in a really weird place because while they can kill big knights, they also can't necessarily take the crack back.
Sure.
Like, you pop a couple Dorns out to kill an Atropos, and the other 2 in Canis pick up both Dorns.
They definitely could. It's not like guaranteed.
No,
it's a sketchy profile. AP3 doesn't ignore cover, sketchy into 2-up saves.
Yeah, I guess one would ignore cover, but yeah.
Well, one would ignore cover if the like Immolator is still alive and they're playing an Immolator, and
a lot of if, ands, or buts. That's fair.
And yeah, like there's a lot of like caveats to that.
But they do have a lot of flexibility. Like they can play mechanized, they can play combined. Hammer still has some play on WTC boards.
I mean, 3 Dorns is a lot of scary for a lot of armies.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
I think that kind of list.
I think I put them in the 20 to 30 category because of that. Just because they do have that flexibility of kind of answering gaps in
20 to 30
matchups.
For Guard, that is a lot higher than I thought you were going to say based on how you caveat at the start of that.
I talked myself into it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I do.
Simon Hunt basically makes the point that I eventually got to, which is that there's just a wide number of them that you're not locked into.
Yeah, it feels like you can twist your comp. You can twist Guard to fit your comp pretty well, depending on what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, I think is a fair card. Right. Next up, we have Black Templars. I'm gonna nothing ventured, nothing gained, and put them down here. I don't think anyone's playing Black Templars this year.
No, they.
I don't think Olivier's playing 100 Crusaders again. I think that army's kind of awful. I don't think anyone's playing that. I don't think anyone's playing Black Templar or Ironstorm now that Space Wolf Ironstorm exists or Ultramarines Gladius exists with that +1. So I think no one's going to take Black Templars, and I hope that's not a hot take. I would be surprised. I would not be surprised if there was one. I would be surprised if there was more than that. But I decided that 0 to 1 is not a category that we endorse. We have the soul of a warrior here, and it's 0 or 1 to 5, and I'm putting 0. All right, Jeremy, you have got Blood Angels.
Oh, this is a tough one.
So it's worth remembering with all of the Marine ones that all Marine armies are exclusive with each other.
Yep.
So Marines does not. So when we talk about Marines, we'll be talking about Codex Space Marines, not Marines as a whole. Which means that Blood Angels comes with the caveat of this is also competing with Dark Angels and Space Wolves and Black Templars and etc.
Because new Space Wolves are in, right?
New Space Wolves are in as long as you have a physical copy of the Codex.
Well, why do you need a physical copy of the Codex?
Because it's not in the app.
But at the event, it will be. Comes out this week.
They have not confirmed that yet. They have said that until it is in the app, you require a physical copy of the Codex.
Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be in the app on Saturday anyways, because that's when the actual book comes out.
Yeah, that's fine too. But
yeah. So I would put them in the 6 to 10 category.
6 to 10?
Yeah, because I would imagine that a fair number of teams are going to bring Marines, like Marines as a super faction. Like I would probably wager if you added up all the Marines together, it'd be in the 31 to 41 category.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
Probably.
I honestly would not be surprised if it was 42, but
yeah,
one team always convinces themselves not to play the best army for some reason.
Look, I don't know. Maybe someone got tired of playing Ultramarine Gladius.
Well,
and
it's certainly an easy thing
Stormlance
to do.
and
It's
Stormlance
hard to
Ultramarines.
because you get to spend so many CP every day that you're always looking for new ones. Well, maybe
Well,
there is a 7th stratagem here. Yeah. How do you
and I
feel
think they'll
about
make
Blood
a pro.
Angels compared to last year's Blood WTC?
Ooh,
Because
I mean
that was
they're
kind of the choice last year. Was did you take this weird spice, which was either Black Templars for like you had Black Templars for France, you had the Space Rules list for Poland, and then
yep.
besides that, Pool 1 seeds like 7 of the rest of them had Dark Angels Gladius, and
Mhm.
then all the Pool 1, although all the Pool 2 seeds in England had Blood Angels.
Yeah. Hmm.
Do you think that holds this year? I mean, we'll talk about that as we get through Marines.
I
But
don't think
how do you
Blood
feel about
Angels
Blood Angels
will be
compared to last
represented
year?
in the pool one seeds that often.
Yeah. How do you feel about them
'Cause
compared to last year, though? Right? I think that's the bigger question.
I'd say they're about the same, really. Like they're obviously better than they were back then, but
And they
that's
were really good last year.
and that's the thing. But that's like comparing them to where they were last year, as opposed to comparing the meta to where the meta was last year. And I
Yeah.
would say the meta last year was a little bit healthier.
Yeah, that's fair. Like speaking personally, I've been broadly pretty impressed with their ability. With like Blood Angels kill knights,
Yep.
they absolutely do. They don't play Thousand Sun super well. They'll play They'll like all your draw armies like guard, then Necrons, Custodes. Don't get over the line against Blood Angels right now. I don't think they're just
Yeah.
too
I
efficient. Too much
really don't
stuff.
like playing into Death Guard though.
They don't, but I mean, we're going to talk about Death Guard later. But
Yeah.
hypothetically, the world where Blood Angels are being princess to the degree that something like Olivier's list from Battle for Salvation was, you're probably not like if you're playing Death Guard, you're playing them on a heavy table because you're playing them in a late stage position.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I just don't think that that's as bad as it sounds. Like the second you're playing on like your choice of a WTC table where no guns ever see you before you connect with everything, 3 PVCs are not tabling a Blood Angels army. There is too much stuff.
No,
Now.
they're killing like
2 Marines a turn each, and you just make sure you leave space for Jesus against Death Guard, and you don't take splash damage. And but yeah, I think 6 to 10 is probably fair. I would not be surprised if it was a little higher or a little lower, depending how the metagame shakes out.
All right, Innis, Chaos Demons. What do we
Chaos
think?
Demons. Oh god, which one of these is Chaos Demons? That's a fantastic question.
I'm
gonna say this one because it looks more demonic. That one looks like Marines.
I don't know. Mike Puslins is in chat, so he'll immediately correct us if we got the wrong one.
I'm gonna put Demons. I don't think Demons are better than Blood Angels, and I don't think they're better than Eldar.
Question here.
But I do think they might be more popular than Blood Angels because they don't require a slot, but they do take up a slot for other armies because you can't ally demons and take
that was what I was
going to
say. It's like,
which means I'm putting them in. Oh Christ! I want to put it like exactly. I want to put like 4 to 8 for this one. So I'm gonna say 6 to 10 because I think that enough people will be looking at demonic incursion. I think enough armies don't need them. I think enough Chaos Knight players will be bullying their teams that they will not be higher. But I don't want to say like I think the demonic incursion list genuinely does give you an interesting knight answer or gun answer in the sense of like Bellicor and things like that. Like not getting shot is pretty strong in 10th edition as it turns out, and there's a lot of guns out there.
Yeah,
but
the really interesting thing right now
from an ally really worry me.
Yeah, the really interesting thing from an ally's perspective right now is now that we have all of the god books, they're not being eaten up by any of those potentially. Like before, you would see like Death Guard would.
Yeah, it's exactly Chaos Knights and Chaos Space Marines now, right?
Yep.
And I mean, we're going to talk about those two in very different directions later, I think.
Very much so.
So it's mostly going to be Chaos Knight players, but Chaos Knight players do love their fucking Beasts of Nurgle. So,
and they love their Rodicus too.
I've taught myself into it. I'm going to put it in 1 to 5. All right.
Well, we're starting out very interestingly.
Look, we're going to add all these up, but it's not going to add up to 320. But that's part of the fun, right? We get to be right and wrong in a lot of different directions to see how it averages out. All right, Jeremy, you have got Chaos Knights. Then let's do it.
31 to 41. I don't think there's going to be one team that talks themselves out of it, and they go with the whole, nah, we don't need Chaos Knights. It's fine. And everyone else will talk themselves into taking them.
Really don't agree. I think Chaos Knights aren't very good, and I would have put them here personally, but it's your call. So I really truly don't think Chaos Knights are that good. I think they're fine. They're extremely fine. but they require board choice pretty heavily because they're not super good at navigating the heavier tables, especially they're very move blockable against good players. And I would be very worried about bringing a double knight comp with the design that both of them play on a light table, because that's just not feasible. And so many of those medium and heavy tables are absolute nightmare fuel against melee armies for Chaos Knights. Even
So
with the
then
-1 damage in the fight first, it can't be everywhere. And a lot of shooting armies will outshoot them if they get to play the angles. I would be worried about that personally. But I also see where you're coming from, that there was a lot of raw power in that book.
Chat thinks you're gaslighting them.
That's
you,
fine.
Or are you not?
Chat's
That's
allowed to
half
think
the fun of
whatever it
this.
wants. Jeremy put them in 31 to 41, and I'm putting them there because that's what Jeremy said, and we back each other on this show. Jeremy, tell me why you think it's going to be that high.
Like I said, it's one of these things where they are in a very solid place right now, either Infernal or Lords of Dread. Infernal probably more likely, just because the output's very solid. I think Bigs are still too cheap in that army. The reason I don't think it's going to be 42, like some other people might think, is that there are some teams that will go, no, we've got an answer to both knights, and we're just not going to take them.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
I expect it'll be on the low end of the 31 to 41, but
sure. But again, this is way more inflammatory, and I like this better. So, all right, I have
Chaos
Chaos
Space
Space Marines, which is, if we're going to say the other one of these. Now, I could just be a real genius and just put it with the other one so that we don't have to decide which is which. But I think it's probably here. I think there's going to be a good number of people that like Chaos Space Marines. The Renegade Raiders buffs with Lord Discordant and Vashtor were kind of interesting. I definitely look forward to seeing what people come up with in that space, but I also think that they are generally not as hot as they used to be. And there's so many other melee marine armies in that space now that you have a lot of choices between this, and I think this and the Emperor's Children player base basically have a Venn diagram of overlap, and that everybody that was an Emperor's Children player and a Chaos Space Marine player is choosing between the two, and I think Emperor's Children are probably stronger.
Probably, yeah. No,
probably stronger.
I'm gonna no. We're gonna go back to the Chaos Demon discussion here, because you put them in 1 to 5 because of allies, but you think that CK is going to be lower than 31 to 41, and Chaos Space Marines are going to be that low. Wouldn't then demons go up to the 6 to 10 like we'd originally thought?
No.
All right.
No. No, stop it. I think enough. I think some of what I'm kind of getting at there is that I think some of the teams that would have taken demons can't because of Chaos Space Marines or Chaos Demon or Chaos Knights, but not every team wanted Chaos Knights to begin, or Chaos Demons to begin with. So I think of the yes, it's probably would be 15, maybe 10 to 15 teams would look at them, but of those, half of them at least are cannibalizing the slot.
Okay.
So
all right. That's fair.
All right.
I get Dark Angels. Sweet.
You get Dark Angels. No, you get
totally
Chaos
not.
Titan Legions.
That doesn't exist.
I know.
I'm gonna put them right with Blood Angel 6 to 10. I think that there's a variety of interesting builds, both in Stormlance and in Wrath, or even just plain Gladius. But I don't think it's going to be that crazy.
I can't imagine playing Gladius in a world where Ultramarines exists.
Well, that's basically it. So maybe even 1 to 5, because Wrath is very fun to buff up.
Wrath's pretty damn stable, right? It's hard to beat Wrath real hard.
Yes, I played our friend Alice the other day on Big Boy Demons with Wrath. The Lion and Deathwing Knights failed the charge. The Lion then died to the Thirster. The Deathwing Knights died to, I think it was Scarbrand. I couldn't make a single invuln save, and still managed to pull out the 10-10 because the rest of the army was just there.
I wonder if I can find a Hello Darkness, my old friend, Griff. Yeah, whatever. I'm not doing that, actually. That's way more effort than it's worth for a terrible bit. All right, so where are we putting them? 6 to 10 or 1 to 5?
Put them in 6 to 10. I can't have them below Blood Angels. That's just wrong.
It's the way they deserve to be. Dark Angels I mean, actually, no, I like Dark Angels right now. They did really well for me on the video. All right, yeah. Death Guard. So I think Death Guard, probably for me, are the sole 42 slot. In my head, I think they are the best army in the game. I think every team, almost without fail, should be looking at this for either a virulent push list or a Mortarian's Hammer First Defender list, or maybe Champions of Contagion counter melee, because that's the thing you want. That sounds less likely.
I mean, T9 Terminators was fun, but
Sure, dude. T9 Terminators are really good in the metagame where everyone's building to kill Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights. I think this army is insane. I think we should expect to see it for everyone. I don't think we'll see it be the high scorer of the tournament, which is actually probably a thing we can tack on an extra one for that. I've got an extra tab for another thing to do after this, but we can add a third game of what we think the high scorers armies of the tournament are going to be. That'd be good fun. But yeah, I think this army's busted. I think it theoretically. The only reason that I can imagine a team not bringing it is because they literally can't get the models because blow drones are out of stock, and that's just not a concern at WTC. That's not a thing.
I mean, you can just print an entire army in a weekend.
Exactly. I just don't think that's a thing teams are going to. Teams should be planning around at this point. The only possible thing I can justify is that you just don't have someone who's played Death Guard, and you're just like, we have armies 2 through 9. That's fine, but I think they're enough better than even Army 2 that you should be taking them.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree that they probably won't be the highest scoring because a lot of teams are going to be practicing into them and prepping for them. So they'll probably win almost every single one of their games, but I don't think they're going to blow out most of their games.
Yeah, totally fair. All right, you get Deathwatch. Apparently, you're just getting all of the Marine sub-factions.
None.
Okay. Deathwatch isn't the sub-faction, it's a mental issue, apparently.
Is that the Deathwatch icon or the Imperial or...
That's Deathwatch. This is Imperial Agents.
Okay. It's...
this is the Deathwatch chapter symbol. It's the Ordo Xenos.
Sure.
I looked it up. I did it proper, Jeremy. It's all highbrow.
Drakari.
All right. No. Why are there no Deathwatch?
Because they suck right now, and if you're taking Marines, you're going to take any of the 4 others that are better than them.
That's totally fair.
You're going to take either regular Space Marines, you're going to take Blood Angels, or you're going to take Dark Angels, or you're going to take Space Wolves.
Do you not like the idea of playing the faction that asks your opponent what your defensive profile is and doesn't have a backup plan at WTC? Where consistency is king? No?
Yeah, and we're also you'll play against people who will have practiced into your list 10 times over, and they'll immediately go, no, this is exactly what happens to you here.
On your behalf. All right, Drakari. Now, I'm pretty sure Skari's attending this tournament, right?
Rizvan is playing for Team Canada this year, yes.
And so is Powell from Team Germany.
Yep.
So it's at least 2.
Not necessarily.
It's at least 2.
Remember, the last time Rizvan was at WTC, he played Necrons.
I acknowledge your point, but it's at least 1, which means I can't put it in 0, which is where it belongs. But I think we're going to see like 5 to 10 teams try the Reaper's Wager shit to deal with Knights and be sad about it, but have still brought it because they committed a Drakari player too early in the process and couldn't take them off it, and 2 teams will make it work.
So are you saying 6 to 10 or 1 to 5?
I'm saying 6 to 10. Yeah, 6 to 10. They're
you said 5 to 10, so I was very confused.
Yeah, they're going in the cluster. I'm happy to say that I think they're going to be like close to 6, but that I think enough teams will try it and be disappointed, but have committed their player too early and will not be able to YOLO them onto something better, or will have genuinely found that they think it works and will be wrong at WTC.
I love it.
All right. You have Emperor Children. Oh, it means I get Gene Star called.
No, it works out. We're getting the armies that we each play. I'd probably put in the 6 to 10, maybe 11 to 19. It's a tough one here. I'll probably put them 11 to 19 because they are better than CSM. Not by a huge margin, but they also have the possibility of really winning big against some armies if things spiral.
EC is not a lot of stuff.
Yep. I know.
That army is running with like fumes and a direction which is forward. And it's like, as long as you get there on the fumes, you're going to be fine. But if you stall out halfway, there's no alternative game plan for Emperor's Children now. It's a very, very volatile place to be. But I think there are a lot of really high caliber Emperor's Children players. I would be personally particularly worried about what that Knight matchup looks like. That is miserable for them. Like there's just a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't fun before.
A lot of difficulty getting off the ground in terms of your pacts. That does worry me about that kind of matchup. But the rest of the metagame doesn't feel awful. I think the Death Guard game can be sketchy, but outside of that, there's a lot of like they still beat most Marine builds and all that kind of thing. Like they're a really good like get them into something they're good into and they'll deliver high points. Get them and like you need some armies that have big highs and big lows to pair for and to use your pairing resources for. So I wouldn't be sure.
I agree.
All right, GSC. So I think GSC are terrible, absolutely dog shit. I don't think anybody's going to take them to WTC. I think we can probably just talk and move on.
No, you're at WTC and you've been playing host, so there's at least one.
You can't prove that until WTC list submission is out.
It's true.
No, I think GSC will probably land in this spot as well. And I went on the side of high last time, so I'm going to go on the side of low this time. I think enough teams will have kind of looked at host and decided that they don't think it's actually that good, or that they don't have someone that can play it. And I think the other armies are kind of terrible. Maybe someone takes Outlander. I would imagine that there's a few people who are dedicated and willing to play it, but by and large, I don't think it's going to be a ton. I would expect it to be sort of sitting in that 4 to 8 range again, and I'm going to err the low side because I erred the high side last time. Notably, I do really enjoy the night matchup for this army. I think it's a very powerful into that matchup, but a lot of these high pressure mailing armies are very difficult, like Emperor Children and Blood Angels, which does put a little bit of a like, hey, you're going to need to princess this a little bit. It can't just play anything. And it sometimes needs a table to play against some of the scarier shooting armies as well. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts for an army that's hard to commit to and hard to convince anyone to practice on TTS. So
yeah, that's definitely one of the hardest selling points.
I taught myself into it 6 to 10. If you're out there and you're a GSC player going to WTC, I believe in you. You're going to do great.
All right.
Grey Knights.
I'm going to say 1 to 5. I want to say 0. But the reality is that someone's going to think that they've solved a couple of matchups with some kind of probably Warpbane list. But yeah, they're definitely not in a great spot. I think like 4 of the top 5 armies right now just shit all over them.
That's a tough place to be. It's a tough army to justify bringing into that
Like,
circumstance.
they don't like playing into Knights. They don't like playing into Thousand Sons. They don't like playing into Death Guard.
You ever watched during Terminator try to kill a squad and it gets hazardous on all its weapons? Oh, that's grim. You charge a Zangor Shaman and you're like, I need to kill it, and then it's just like, what if you died instead? Oh no.
That's why you only attack with bullshit.
You don't kill it because he blanks it, and you're like, fuck.
Not only that, but he had a 4-up fucking feel no pain.
Exactly. So we go 1 to 5. You think someone's gonna?
I think someone will. Like when you get into like, and I know I'm poking fun now, but when you get to the C3 teams like Canada, you start running a little bit desperate as to what you can play.
Fair. That's not unreasonable. All right. Next up, I have Imperial Agents, who are definitely a real faction that we should totally expect to talk about at WTC, and definitely deserve all the hate they get on the internet because they're kind of awful. I think it's more likely that we see Imperial Agents than Black Templars. Because I just don't think anyone's going to play. I thought like Imperial Agents at least don't take your Space Marine slot.
That's actually fair. Like Black Templars and Death Watch will take your Marine slot.
Now
Agents don't.
The other reason
agents do take your allies away from
yes,
Imperial
the reason
Knights.
We're not going to see agents more than anything else is that your Imperial Knight player has already taken them. We all know.
And
this.
if he hasn't, your Marine player has.
Exactly.
Or your Custodes player.
Your Guard player has. And if they haven't, your Custodes player has. Could you imagine trying to justify being an Imperial Agents player in this metagame? And you're like, yeah, I need to play this army. I can definitely play this. This is better than Guard. All right. You have Imperial Knights.
I'm gonna put them with Chaos Knights at 31 to 41 because I don't think they're gonna be 42. They're probably like the second best army in the game right now, maybe the third best. They're definitely better than CK.
We're not really ordering these within tiers, by the way, but I like the way that.
Yeah, it looks better to have Imperial Knights in front of CK, anyways.
Yeah, we could order within tiers if we wanted to, but
it
seems like a lot of effort.
Yeah, but yeah, they're one of the winningest armies in the game right now. And I'm not saying 42 because someone's going to run that stupid Custodes build that you just suggested. The UN team is listening right now and is going to go like, we can take 3 armies at once.
There is no way every team brings IK. Someone is going to think that they're smarter than the metagame.
Yeah. Like it's like someone will be like, no, we've solved Knights. We don't need Knights.
Or someone can't get 3 Atropos in time.
You buy the plastic Lancer, you print the bits. Done.
I'm just saying, it's a possibility. That Lancer's out of stock on the website as well. Like, it's not exactly easy to get Imperial Knights right now.
Never mind.
All right, so Imperial Knights at the top, but we don't think they're going to be. We don't think they're going to be 42 because there are reasons to not play them. They do kind of need table. they are kind of vulnerable to some types of armies when they get off of table, and they're kind of telegraphed that we know that they're really good and that we're expecting everyone to have them.
Everyone's
There are
practicing
going to be
against them.
teams out there that have gone, no, we can solve for this problem, and will not bring them to try to beat teams that did not solve for them, that did solve for the problem, and like get an edge on them that way.
Mhm.
All right,
You stole one from me.
did I?
Votan.
No, they're right here.
Yeah, you do it though.
Oh,
I
you
did
can
next.
have it if you want.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Tim Schneider's at this event, right?
I believe so. He could
Yeah,
be.
cool.
He could be playing a Stompa.
Well, they're fine. Votan are okay. They're not
What
like
was, what was the word
incredible.
you had for them earlier?
Yeah, they're the flower of the spice rack. They're there. They're salt. They're my palate. Whatever. They're bland. They're unappealing. They're unassuming, and they'll score 7 to 12 points pretty much every game you put in front of them, unless your opponent fucks up.
Yeah.
And if you fuck up, it'll go catastrophic. But we generally assume that you don't fuck up too hard at WTC.
Yeah, generally, if you're bringing Votan to WTC, you know what you're doing with that army.
I would really like to hope so. But there's a very real world that people don't, and I don't think there's going to be a ton of them. I think there's going to be enough. Some of the
There'll
boards
probably be
are
a
pretty
couple that
nice.
try to get cute, and
There's also just like this final 2 rounds are search, which does, if you're like trying to trade on the margins of being like, hey, if we make it there, we want to be really good at the search rounds, and if we don't, well, then it doesn't fucking matter what we roll because we're not winning the tournament. Like, there's a world where you maybe like skew a little harder into the search map, skew a little harder into the search round, right? Go and win the tournament. Now, this doesn't really work because a lot of the time you play the final gets played in round 5 in a lot of senses,
yeah,
because it's kind of a Swiss tournament, which means that with 42 players, we're expecting the 2 undefeated teams will eventually play in round 5 or round 6. But I know it's not a bad gambit.
definitely would be a fun way to go for it.
Yeah. All right, you got Necrons.
I really hate that they're still good.
They're still great.
I'd put them in the 20 to 30 category probably because they have like 4 different builds at work right now. Most of them are just awakened, but
there's awakened but in Star Shatter, and awakened but in Canoptic Court, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, those are all things. And then I have to shout out Matt Bell's a Beeson's Phalanx -1 damage Tesseract Vault. Hell yeah, baby.
Is that the one that went 4-1?
Yeah. If only that thing was strength 11, it'd be hunting knights. But yeah, power to him. Really great effort. Yeah, I fully agree. I think Wraiths are great. Warriors are passable. Warriors, really tough damage check for knight armies in a general sense.
Yeah. No, that is a serious problem for them sometimes.
Yeah, if you just like exist, and if you run like the command barge, you are never losing objectives to a knight army. They just do not OC you. And I've seen people doing that,
especially with the reduction in
It's
OC.
not terrible. Yeah.
Right.
Even the same thing on Wraith, like a Wraith squad going to OC like 30 with that guy, with our 27, I guess or 25, with the like 6 Wraiths in command barge range with Dread Majesty for rear ones, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of cool things you can do with Necrons right now. And cool, I use as a really, really tortured word here. But I would not be shocked if it was.
It's miserable to play against.
Yeah, and it's not fun to play either.
No, it's not. You have to play with Wraiths, which are one of the most atrocious models to play with because they just
which one's
monkeys
the tall
everywhere.
one? Is that at the front of the squad or the back of the squad? All right, Jeremy. Orcs.
What?
How do I get orcs?
You like the orcs?
I don't like the orcs. Is this too much? This feels too much, right? It's got to be here.
Yeah.
But I feel like it could be. I feel like it really could be here. Someone somewhere is an orc player that's just not let go. Someone's gonna bring a warhorde build that's designed to, like, you could probably build a warhorde list that's like whatever knight list they don't first defend with, warhorde is waiting on a medium table, right? You're just like, you're coming home with me, and I'm gonna put my power fist in your pocket, and you're gonna have a bad time. And I think that like a couple teams will try that. And maybe like one team still plays Tactical Brigade and is like, Sags are 16-inch range. They outrange knights. You wanna try this? And then they'll bully into pairing something else.
You're not wrong.
And I don't think that's crazy. That's pretty crazy, but I don't think it's like insanity. I think it's pretty insane. I don't think we're gonna see a ton of orcs.
Yeah.
All right. book Space Marines. This is Ultras, Salamanders, Iron Hands, Raven Guard.
I want to
Now,
say
Kev Zollinger is running the event, so he can't be playing Raven Guard Ironstorm for Austria this year.
you're in Black Templar Ironstorm.
No, he played Raven Guard Ironstorm for Eurotrash.
Interesting.
Or sorry, Raven Guard Gladius, but it was Ironstorm.
Oh,
It
okay,
was
that's the one.
Shrike,
Okay,
yeah, it was like Shrike and 10 Vanguard veterans plus a Gladius army.
yeah. I'm like split between 11 to 19 and 20 to 30 because I do believe that most teams will end up bringing Marines. I think
But
11 to
book
19.
Marines?
No, like Marines as a whole.
No, this is core codex, no supplement.
Yeah, so I think 11 to 19.
Really? That
Yeah.
high for just like for Ultramarines, right? We're saying
Yeah,
we
it's
think if
basically
I had
going to
to
be
do-
Ultramarines
Okay.
because I think that a lot of teams are going to take that as their night answer
that's actually a fair call.
because
Yeah,
plus one to
okay.
wound
No, I can see
Vindicators
that.
are or even Hammer Strikes.
So
or
the math that'll run on that is that three Vindicators don't actually kill a rotated knight, unfortunately. They average like 21 damage. It's pretty sketchy.
Don't
Then
don't
you have
let
like the
them
100
know
kills
that.
and stuff, and it gets a little past that, but like they don't actually kill on average, and you definitely die back. If we think drones die back, Vindicators also die back.
Oh yeah,
So I'm not 100% convinced I want the smoke of Knights on a light table as Ultramarines.
no, I definitely don't want it, but I think that some people will convince themselves that it's a good idea.
Okay. Do we think there's any Storm Ravens in here?
There's gonna be at least one.
That's
Like-
fine. I'm gonna do a David Gaylord.
So bad.
Yeah, it's fine. He likes doing that. It's a good addition.
Yep.
All right. Okay, who's up next? We have Spacey Wolves. Ooh. So I think Space Wolves have debuted with like, I mean, it's not a whimper, right?
Well,
It's
they
not
aren't
been
out yet.
bad, but but we've seen a lot of stats on Space Wolves so far, right? Like we've seen people have had a lot of time to play with this army. It's been out for a
Sure,
couple
but
months,
we haven't seen
effectively.
any like actual event performance for them.
Sure, but
We have
I
lots
feel
of people
like if it was-
testing them, lots of people behind
it
the
was
curtain
broken-
playing with them.
If it was broken, we'd have heard by now. Someone
think?
would have been like, I've been crushing all my practice events. I've been crushing the RTs I've go to. We'd have had like 17.
Yeah, but that's like winning all your games with a Hammerfall
No,
bunker.
like I get that, but if there was a build in here that was like turbo insane, that's obvious. Now, is there a build in here that's really good that a couple WTC teams have found that they'll take and that'll be competitive with Blood Angels and Space Marines and Dark Angels? I think that's probably true. But do I think that there's going to be like suddenly 10 of the like 25% of the teams at WTC have gambled on an army
No.
that is effectively untested? I think that's hard, and I think for that reason I'm going to put them in 6 to 10. Kind of falling into that same space of
That's
like
basically your Marines and then your Ultramarines just in front.
exactly. It's like okay,
Which if you
15
add
of
those all
these,
up, you're at close
15
to
of these,
40.
6 of these, 6 of these, 6 of these, 6 of these is 40.
Yeah, 41.
So
but yeah,
that's basically what I think is going to happen, right? And it might be like 4 of this one and 7 of this one and
sure.
14 of this one and like whatever.
You're probably
right?
going to see like a 3-to-2 ratio of non-codex to codex.
Yeah, I think there'll be more non-codex than codex, but codex will be the most individual represented. That seems fair.
Yeah. That's just how it tends to
I
go.
wouldn't be surprised if it was actually BA or Space Wolves. If it was going to be one of the two, it would be BA or Space Wolves that would overtake it, I think.
Yeah.
All right. We have 1,000 Suns. Oh my days. What an army.
31
Man.
to 41.
All
There's
right.
bound to, I don't think they're going to be a 42 because there's going to
I think
have to
they're
have a
like,
player
they
that
should
has
be, like,
experience with this army.
I think between
Yeah.
them, I think they're more likely to be 42.
If
than
every
Knights
team
are,
had
but-
someone who could play 1,000 Suns, it would be a 42. But there's always going to be one team that goes, we don't have anyone that's good with it, and we don't want to take a risk on them like screwing the pooch on that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think this army is going to be like 38, and these two are going to be like low 30s.
I think they're up there. Like the damage that 1,000 Suns put out, and especially just how stable they are when shit goes sideways.
Army shoots like nothing else. Getting activated by Thousand Suns makes me mad.
Yep. It hurts a lot.
All right. I have Tyranids. I think Tyranids are going to be up here. Because I think everybody's going to go, yeah, I can jank about with Subterranean Assault. And every team's got a Tyranid Pervert. Every single team has a Tyranid Pervert. And they have that one guy that looked at him and was like, ooh, real ones. That makes my shit data sheet good. And then they're going to play it. And they're going to be a little disappointed, but they're going to get a whole bunch of 7s to 12s, just like Votan, but they're doing it with Tyranids. Tyranids are cool, and they have a Battle Shock thing that sometimes scams you. So you have to be like real fucking scary when you're playing against Nids. You have to be like real respectful of the Battle Shock turn. And if you don't, shit gets crazy. So I think it's going to be like 20. I think it's going to be like 22, but I think it's like there's got to be a lot of them. They're not good into Knights, unfortunately. Sorry.
You sure?
Knights. Look, you can run 3 Tyrannifexes or 2 Tyrannifexes, and you can casino count your way to success. But I think you're better doing that into like Ultras Gladius and stuff like that, or
Fair.
Play into your opponent's like stable armies. Look, I think Eldar are kind of bad, guys. Chill out, okay? Eldar perverts. I don't think Eldar are that good. And Jeremy didn't even contest that one when I said it. So, all right, Jeremy, you have Tau. I'll delete the background. There you go.
1 to 5. I don't really see them being all that amazing.
No, they're not. There's some cool builds. There's that the 27 monkeys and 6 tanks build that did that well at that event at the States, but I really would struggle to move that in WTC terrain. You could probably, I could see a team bringing Crew Hunting Pack like 200 bodies and just being like, screw you, Knights.
Yeah,
I could see that. I think that'd be interesting. Ain't gonna be me. I'm playing my own horde, but it's a lot of stealthy -1 to hit stuff that Knights don't chew through particularly fast with invulnerable saves.
Yeah, and I mean it's.
I could see a world where
if you bring Hammerheads, you can just scam Knight players.
I could see a world where a team was like Crew Hunting Pack plus Recon Guard, 400 models, first defend Knights, pick.
Then they have Host in the back pocket for that other one.
Yeah, and then whichever one gets rejected sits there with Host waiting for Chaos Knights. Like, come on then, defend. Go on. I promise it'll be fine.
You want table choice, right?
They're the same team that's got Warhorde waiting for them on the heavy table in case they try to stick about for for like champion or defender scam. It's like, man, we got 4 hordes. What are you gonna do, Chaos Knights? You want to have fun? I could see that. I don't think it's like.
Then they run into the Chaos Knight player who just brought nothing but War Dogs and indirects them off the table.
All right, and then you have World Eaters.
All right, I'm just kind of thinking right now. We've got Thousand Suns in the 31 to 41. We've got EC in the 11 to 19. We've got Death Guard as our 142. So I think World Eaters are going to be in the. It's really a tough one. Anthony's going to be at WTC still. He'll be playing World Eaters, right?
I mean, probably, right? He's been telling us that he's not, which means he, of course, isn't.
Probably. Let's say I want to be spicy and say 11 to 19, and people would think that it's going to be like Hellbrutes, like
that is
Knights off the board.
All right, dude. I'm gonna take your word for it. I don't think World Eaters are that good. I would be surprised. I genuinely would be surprised if Anthony even had them. I just don't get what they really do. Like, what are you going to be running? Like, you run like 18 8-bounds to go and chase down the Lancers?
Yeah. No, realistically, it's probably 1 to 5, but 11 to 19 spicier.
Yeah, all right, cool. That's actually, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, it's a good little hot take. I could add, but not Anthony. All right, so to really quickly wrap this up,
it would be very funny if they were one of the most like represented armies and Anthony didn't take them.
It would be very funny. In the 42 bracket, we have Death Guard. In 31 to 41, we have Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, and Thousand Suns. In 20 to 30, we have Necrons, Tyranids, and Guard. In 11 to 19, we have Eldar, Emperor's Children, Space Marines, Pure, World Eaters. In 6 to 10, we have Chaos Space Marines. We have Blood Angels, Drakari, Votan, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and Tyranids. No, Gene Cults. In 1 to 5, we have Chaos Demons, Custodes, Sisters, Orcs, Tau, and Grey Knights. And in 0, we have Imperial Agents, Deathwatch, Adeptus Mechanicus, and Black Templars. Now, if someone submits one of these out of spite last minute, just to fuck with our tier, with our predictions here, I'll take that. That's a win. We get that point. Otherwise, with the benefit of having looked at everything, is there anything you want to shift here? You get one. You get one. I get one. And shift one that I put down or you put down. It doesn't have to be anything specific.
I would probably bump Eldari down to 6 to 10.
Okay. Why is that?
Because looking at the rest of the field, I feel like there's, like, if you look at it, there's a clear set of winning, kind of quote unquote winning factions here, and then there is a huge mid pack of pick what you want to play. And I don't think that Eldari necessarily are going to be that high among that group.
Okay, totally fair. For the similar reason, I'm going to bump CSM up then, because I think the same kind of idea. I think people gravitate towards CSM when there's damage check metagames because they're so good at it. That I'm going to bump that one up. Just kind of looking at the metagame of a lot of things that CSM can punch through once you start getting down to this set. And like something's got to play against the armies that are in the top 4, right?
Yeah. I think that sounds about right.
Next up, we have Fun 1. Let's predict the top 3. So this is both for top 3 armies in terms of individual performance. So which 3 armies do you think will have the highest single performance for the 1, 2, and 3? And then the top 3 countries.
Where do we want to start?
Wherever you want.
Let's start with armies. What do you think number 1's going to be?
I think the highest scoring player is going to be a T-Sons player.
Oh, highest scoring player. I thought you meant like aggregate.
No, I think the highest scoring player will be a T-Sons player.
Yeah, okay. I think the highest scoring aggregate army will be Imperial Knights.
Yeah, that's fine. I want like the 1, 2, 3 on the results page, right? Yeah. Like how David
Thousand Sons. I mean, it could just be 3,000 Sons players for all we know.
It could be. But like, so if there was a duplicate 1,000 Sons, we would go with the next highest player.
Oh,
right?
okay. So like
if there is
top
3,000 Sons is top 3, it would be whoever is 4th would be the next one, right? So no duplicates, basically. It would be very funny to just do T-Sons, T-Sons, T-Sons. I'm looking for a font that I didn't use earlier.
I would say T-Sons number 1, and then
whatever.
What would go after that? It would probably be some pairing princess.
You have to pick. Can't just sit here in silence.
I can if you want. We can make it really awkward. No, I'm going to say Imperial Knights is the second highest because someone's just going to get light board and perfect pairings all weekend because it'll just be funny. I do like the idea of Simon. Number 2 will just be Liam VSL. No, because he's going to be the number 1 T-Sons player. And it's Belgium, so they're going to have a bit of a interesting route through the event.
And Belgium are really good right now. I would not
they are.
They did very well.
But they're also
Knights for number 2?
Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to say Emperor's Children for number 3. Because I think there's going to be an Emperor's Children player that just has a fantastic run. I think there's just he's going to be an EC player that just has their field day.
Like just a blessed run.
All their pairings, everything they want, and just like
playing to nothing but MSU armies all weekend long with Coterie.
You know, like just Emperor's Children kills the world, basically.
Yeah.
I want to put my own GSC up here, right? Like, number 1, obviously, I'm going to get my 140 this year. We're all still chasing it. All right. Country performance. Who's your pick for the win?
I almost want to do it just because it'd be funny. I'm going to say England because it's no longer the anyone but England year.
You want me to put an English flag at number 1?
No, you're not allowed to put an English flag on there.
That, just to confirm, because that's what I'm about to go and grab from the like search tab.
Yeah, no. So we're going to put.
Make sure you're comfortable with what I'm putting down here.
Spain attending this year?
I believe so.
Then I'll put France because I think it'd be really fun for them to see a repeat. But I don't actually know who's on their team.
I do know that the captain is no longer Olivier, which is fun. France.
Wait,
France to win.
Was he the captain last year?
Yes.
Okay.
I
I
think
thought he
so.
wasn't.
I don't really know anymore. All right, I'm gonna predict a USA number 2 because it's funny that they never win.
And it hurts them so bad.
Yep. And I think they're gonna be doing great. I'm sure they're doing a ton of prep. I believe they're working very hard. I love Brian and Anthony dearly. The rest of them are people that I have met. But there's no way
John
they
made
win.
you drink, so
Yeah, John made me drink. I want John to suffer, so I'm refusing to give them the win.
he just gets himself another silver die.
And then who's your number 3? I'm making you do 2 of the 3 for these ones because it makes me happy. We could do the top 5 for this. It'd be fun.
Yeah, number 3 would be. I'm gonna go with the Netherlands.
All right,
Never heard
no,
of Pete
I
Belden.
refuse. I refuse on principle to put the Netherlands flag there. Veto. There's a veto power we're allowed to use now. You didn't know about until just right now.
I would have just made you put Rude's face there.
No, I'm not doing that either.
But no, in all seriousness, I want to say Spain, but they are attending, right?
I'm pretty sure they are. The BCP page is up. I can double check.
Yeah.
I can read out who's attending. That might help as well for anyone listening. It's going to be a long list of countries. I'm going to sound like Yakko. I'm not singing it. All right. Attending this year, we have Australia, Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, China, Cyprus, Czechia, Denmark, England, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hong Kong, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Latvia, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, New Zealand, Northern Ireland, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Scotland, Slovakia, page 2, Slovenia, South Africa, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Thailand, the UN team, the USA, and Wales. If you don't have it, I've got mine. I know what I'm putting in here.
Go for it, because I can't make up my mind right now.
I'm getting my social credit score up.
Which one, though?
Mainland, the People's Republic of China, that one. I don't know which flag is the right color.
That one, I think it's the brighter
I'm
red.
looking for one that's not premium as well.
I know, it's so annoying. Hey, look, it's just 3 nuclear superpowers.
Yeah, I'll go with that. All right. I think that's it for this section. So we're predicting France, China, and the USA for our podium. And it's just like the Olympics or something. And then we've got Thousand Sons, Imperial Knights, and Emperor Children for our top 3 performing individual armies. All right, guys. I hope you've enjoyed that bit. I'm going to do the plugs now, and then we're going to move on to show questions, which we're going to speed through because it's getting late. If you're enjoying the show so far, I'm going to leave it on the other slide because it's fun. If you've enjoyed the show so far and you'd like to support us a little bit more, you can do all the usual social stuff. That's leaving us a like, a comment, a follow, a subscription, review on your podcast, whatever. Whatever helps out. It really does help us with discoverability and making sure more people can see the show, and we can keep bringing you stupid content like this as well as the good content that we normally do. Asterisk. If you're in a position to support the show a little bit more and you'd like to leave some financial support, you can also check out patreon.com/statcheck, or you can check out the YouTube membership program in the description below. $5 a month gets you access to our Patreon Discord. You can join the Vibe Check League. You can chat and banter with us about everything. You'll have probably most of our live reactions to the list. I imagine sometime in the half hour after the pod draw goes live that I've dealt with Team Scotland, I will just jump into the StatCheck channel and we'll all chat about it and we'll talk about it and do everything there. I'll be live reacting with my team, unfortunately. But maybe Jeremy can jump in and hold it, or Nathan or something like that can do a live watch with everyone else. I believe it's Breaking Heads doing it this year, so it'll be good fun.
Aww.
Yeah, I know, right? Outside of that, all the usual social stuff really does help us out. If you'd like to support any of our sponsors, you can also check them out in the description. That's Wayland Games, Wayland Yutani Games Terrain, J15 Games, Saltar Games, and Red Dragon, who is our title sponsor. You see them at the beginning of the video. That's the big red dragon that flows up. And in case anyone hadn't put that two and two together, you can get discount codes for all of them in the description, as well as an additional ones from being part of our Patreon or YouTube memberships. If you want to get help with any of the coaching side of stuff, you can check out Patreon, stat-check.com/coaching, or drop an email at coaching@stat-check.com. It's all in there somewhere. It's just really muddled sometimes. If you want to work with any of our coaches, you can check that out. There's links to everybody. You can get in contact, drop us a message on Discord if it's easier for you as well. We're always happy to hear from you, and we'd love to work with you. Otherwise, you can check out the other shows on the network. At the moment, the only one that's currently broadcasting is Take All Comers, but you can also find back episodes of everything else. And we do have news regarding End of the Matrix coming soon. I really tried to wrangle down the two people today, but they're two of the least reliable people in Warhammer, which does make me worried about handing over the reins of a podcast to them. But I don't want to steal their thunder on their announcement. I'm meant to be recording something with them on Thursday, so we'll have that ready to go soon for you all. And I'm very much looking forward to being able to bring you this news that I have tantalized you with for weeks. The only other things that we have to do, Jeremy has an announcement about the Pride Month initiative that we ran this year again. Which, do you have the numbers for that, or do we need to go and troll for
Yeah,
them?
I do have the numbers for that. I'm just going to grab the names.
If you do that, I'm going to go and prepare the other thing.
Yeah. All right. So we did same thing that we did last year for Pride. Basically, anything that StatCheck made from the patron or from YouTube super chats or YouTube ad revenue, we took all of that and we donated those to 3 charities that support queer initiatives. This is something that is very dear to the group of us, and especially with some of the less than ideal trade winds that have been blowing against that community. We wanted to do what little we could and kind of give back to that community. So we ended up giving $1,500 US each to the Rainbow Railroad, to Mermaids, and then to the Prism Foundation, which is a local charity in Chicago that Nathan has talked to us about doing some really amazing work. So we just wanted to be able to do that and kind of give back.
Do we know how much it was? I missed that.
It was $1,500 US to each one of those.
Hell yeah. Yeah, really appreciate you guys keep checking in and helping us out with that. It means a lot to us that you guys continue to support us through all that, and that we can continue to give back to the community that has been helpful to so many people. So what I am currently doing is I'm typing names into a big wheel, because we announced a competition a couple of weeks ago to win a ticket to the Celtic Cup. I am currently filling in a stupid wheel so that I can spin it on the show. All right, there were 14 people who put their name in for the ticket. I'm going to switch over the tab that I'm sharing because that's how this works. Share screen, Chrome tab, Wheel of Names. God, do I feel like a real YouTuber now. So let's hit the button. I did, when I typed in Wheel of Names, the first thing that popped up was Wheel of Names rigged. So you're just going to have to believe me that this is the real website. And if Martine wins it, I'll just throw it back. Oh.
Jesus Christ. By the hair. Congratulations to
Ross Ithrin. I will drop you a message on Discord. Thank you to everybody for competing. If anybody wants to do anything else in Scotland, there is the Doonhammer Open, which is in Scotland in September. Tickets for that one are still available. Otherwise, Celtic Cup tickets have sold out, but keep an eye on it for next year. I believe it is looking to continue to grow and expand. All right. Shall we do show questions?
We shall. All right.
I think there was only like 8 last time I looked, so I'm hoping I'll get to bed.
It's like 20 now, I think.
Fuck.
All right. We'll blitz them, though. All right.
Why does this never work?
Because you always wait just that little bit longer and a bunch show up during the show.
I know.
All right. So first question is from Lucas E. What are you most looking forward to this WTC, Innes?
It's seeing everybody again, right? Like that's always the point.
That's always
right?
what's
like,
worth it.
It's ultimately it's about getting everybody that I love in Warhammer in the same room. Mostly, sadly, Jeremy won't be there this year. But just having, it's the highest density of people I like in the world outside of my house all the time. So it's hard to be upset, right?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm really sad that I'm not going this year, because I'm going to miss seeing all those lovely people.
But you're coming over for Eurotrash, right? So
yeah, exactly. I get to see a chunk of them, but I don't get to see like the Southeast Asians, the Australians, the Kiwis, all that. I did get to see Taos last weekend. Oh, that was something I didn't talk about. Taos came into town for a GT.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Did he win?
No, he lost to. I don't remember what he lost to.
He didn't
I
win.
think he lost.
Okay,
I think he lost to CK and I can't remember the other. But he was playing a borrowed.
Custodies?
He was playing a borrowed Custodes list.
Yeah, boring.
Once again, my Custodes have seen more play with other people than with me.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
Yeah, but it was great seeing him. He had apparently been in Montreal for a little while doing some work, and so we dragged him out. All right, Ansar asks, what are the top 8 armies for WTC, but only PSYOP answers?
Imperial Agents, Genestealer Cults, World Eaters, Votan, Drakari, Imperial Knights, Thousand Sons and Death Guard. I can't even sign up the last ones. That's every host's favorite army, plus Imperial, plus Thousand Sons, Death Guard, and World Eaters. No, Thousand Sons, Death Guard, and Imperial Knights. Oh no, Imperial Knights are Cliff's favorite army. That doesn't even work. Fuck. I don't even know anymore. I lost track. Cliff's not a host. I'm going with that.
Yep. All right. More Masters Matt asks, why is Phalanx the best Necrons detachment right now with an 80% win rate over the weekend? Minus
really
1 damage
cool
vault, carrying my ass.
Phalanx's army rule is the bonus they gave Ulf to make it feel less bad. So, like, whatever. Congrats. Necrons are busted. You can play shit armies and still win with them. Just play Star Shatter if you want a minus 1 damage Tesseract Vault, right?
It's true.
Or does that one not work on Titanic or something? I can't even remember anymore.
No, none of the Star Shatter stuff works on Titanic because this was released after the Monolith traumatized people in Hypercrypt. So they're like, no, you can't use that anywhere.
Oh, thank God. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah, okay. You can.
Yeah, everything in it just says like vehicles excluding Titanic. Vehicles excluding Titanic.
As it should.
Yes. That one guy, John, asks, so how do you deal with, both mentally and actually playing the game, with getting pushed at hard by pressure lists, which result in being down on primary, turns 2-3 leading into 4. I only play singles, and even with the just fight for points like it's teams in the back of my head, I find myself down or thinking that I've already lost, which makes some games really hard, even when the end score is closer to a 10-10.
If you feel like you've already lost, what do you have to lose? You might as well try some stuff, right? Like, losing games are a great opportunity to test yourself and just try, see what happens when you try to make some Hail Mary plays and make some things happen, rather than just like, going into a ball and dying. I would suggest
also say
that's the best approach.
If you feel that you're down by like 20 points at one point, but you notice that every game you're down by 20, you end up pulling it back to winning them by like 5 or losing by 2, start tracking out what that score is going to look like in 3 turns when you start feeling a little bit down. Like going, okay, yes, he's up by 15 primary over me right now and 5 on secondaries. Can I catch up? Like, what is the mechanism that's going to get me there? And then just go do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Easier said than done, of course.
Just don't lose. Just don't get in losing positions and then win.
Yeah, remember, your intent is to win the game.
Just draw,
but your intent has to be
get like 85
physically
points.
possible. All right. Joe Mighty Magnus asks, if you got to create one new unit for the main faction you play, what kind of unit or character would you add to fill a gap in the current army?
All right. I know my answer for cults, so go for it.
For me, it would be Votan, and I want a walker.
Beam plane.
No. Aircraft are so 9th edition. I want a walker that can go through walls. I want an exoframe, little guy in there, like a small little, like 2/3 the size of a sentinel that just barges through walls and charges people.
Hilariously, that's basically what I want for GSC as well. I want like the Ambot suit pilots that are like infantry, like heavy infantry versions of Aberrants. Basically, they're just like, they have like they're like, basically, I want GSC Paragons. They don't get like leaders or anything. They're dog war. Like, they hit on 4s, but they're just like reasonably durable. Have a save of like 3 up, right? They're like 3 up armor, no invul, cheap as guard, but they're 3 up armor and G-Circle. That's basically the most durable thing we'd have access to. And they're just like little walker assholes. They've got like they've got like a mining laser that still hits on 5, like the same as it's the same as the infantry one. They've got the like the acolyte rock saw, but it's just both of them fusion dance, and they're like 20 points. They're just bad Space Marines with like 2 attacks hit on 4s, 2 shots hit on 5s, or 1 shot hits on 5s, but it's a bad Space Marine in GSC, and it can deep strike.
And 2 wounds?
Yeah, they're like 2 wounds, 3 up armor, no invul. They have like deep strike on profile, and they get like reroll hits against units on objectives or something garbage like that. Like not garbage, but like something that like makes them do something, but like they still kind of have to hit their charges.
Reroll charges against things on objectives.
Nah, it's really boring. No, I don't want that. I want them to like be like they don't want them to just like only be consistent in Host of Ascension, right? I want them to be like a Bioscientific unit and like they can do something interesting in every detachment.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Just like a like a.
I just keep thinking of the exoloaders from Alien, and
it's basically exactly what I want.
My faction.
Yeah, that's everybody's dream is exoloaders from Aliens in their faction, right? That's basically why people play Dreadnoughts.
And if the what's it called again?
We're all just trying to manifest a little bit of more.
If the Invictor Tactical Warsuit was any good, we would play.
The Invictor Tactical Warsuit. I mean, I've lost to it this edition. I can't really say anything, but
all right. All right, Carl / Tessa Testarossa / Sigsy. Since the introduction of command points, James has tightened the CP belt repeatedly. In the current CP economy, managing this resource is, of course, an integral part of player skill set, but do you think it could be fun if every once in a few years we had a tournament pack with a more generous CP economy? Someone's clearly not played Space Marine Gladius.
Yeah, the problem with more generous CP economies is that it really, like, the way that we have it now kind of doesn't matter if you only have like 2 good strats, because you can just use them and core stratagems. The second you add more, it starts to really favor deep stratagem pools, and it becomes kind of annoying for armies that have like a couple situational stratagems. Like you barely notice that like Coterie the Conceited kind of has 2 dud stratagems, maybe 3. You barely notice it for a lot of detachments. Like you can have one that's completely garbage, even like 2 in the case of some of them, like Bringers of Flame or Champions of Fate. Like there are a lot of armies that have a couple, and you don't really notice it. The second that you're playing with like twice as many strats, it starts being like, all right, it kind of everybody needs to have like enough stratagems to actually use that you're not just, and then you introduce the problem of like unequal access to core stratagems becomes even more exacerbated once you do that.
Yeah. Armies that don't have grenade or
tank shock, go to ground, smoke, right, all that kind of stuff.
Everyone has access to go to ground.
Not knights.
That's not true.
Oh, sure, Hector Rex into it. Piss off.
Chaos Knights don't have access to it.
Chaos Knights do not. That's true. You can go to ground with the Demons unit if you want to.
Yeah, but that's not Chaos Knights.
I think we skipped a question from Lucas as well.
Yes, apologies, we did. And if it's something you'd be into, how many CP would you add, and when and why? I mean, we've kind of been there. This is like what 8 did with building detachments.
I would give everyone like a bonus CP on their command phase on turn 1 and turn 2 is the most I would look at, right? Like you get an extra 1 for the early game, smooth it out.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting.
But
it's also really scary to do that early game because some armies do have really powerful strats.
Or maybe you get an extra 1 in your opponent's turn 1, right? So you get like 1 in yours, 2 in your opponent's turn 1. So it's like you can't front load it unless you're going second, but then you're going second, and it's like
you're going second. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
In theory, or you give the player going first a bonus CP on turn 2 to overcome like the first turn differential or something like that, because first turn is generally pretty bad right now.
Yeah, it is actually quite
like
bad.
On turn 2 you get an extra 1, right? As the player going first, you get to draw an extra tactical card, and on turn 2 you get an extra CP. There we go. That'd be fun. Anthony would never lose a game, but let's not worry about that.
I would have cried to go first though. Lucas H asks, what are some tips for playing into Subterranean Assault, especially if you're playing a more elite army and won't be able to screen as well?
Screen smaller. You don't have to screen everything. Just pick a fight. You don't have to fight Subterranean Assault on the whole board, man. It's not coming through your front lines.
Just take your little triangle, move your triangle up the board a little bit, and these are your objectives.
Clamp down. Don't try to fight the whole board. Honestly, sometimes it's easier to play the middle instead of your expansion against Subterranean Assault, because everything's closer together if you do that, and you can respond to them better. It really depends on what the game looks like, but like clamp down, make the game happen on your terms. It's the same as playing as Hypercrypt. You just compress the space you're playing the game in, remove their ability to be faster than you by playing the game in a smaller space and having better response times.
Yep, I agree. Bobby the RPG Luminary asks, I know we're about a year out at this point, but who do you think the poster child is for 11th edition? I remember 9th it was Space Marines and Necrons. This edition was Space Marines and Tyrannus. If you could choose the poster child for 11th, who would you choose?
So it depends if they're rotating through Xenos armies or if they're going back to Chaos after 2 editions off, right? I think that's kind of the two choices.
It was Death Guard in 8th.
It was Death
7th
Guard.
Was generic Chaos Space Marines,
7th
I think.
Was did 7th even? I don't even think 7th had a star set. I feel like it just continued using Dark Vengeance.
Yeah, it kind of did. 7th is also weird.
Yeah, because 7th didn't really have a starter set, which was kind of strange. Because Dark Vengeance was 6th, and then 5th was Nids.
Yeah, but Dark Vengeance
No,
was
5th
also
was
available.
5th was Orcs. Apologies. 4th was Nids. 3rd was
Yeah.
Drakari. So I would not be shocked if it was Drakari, because I feel like they're due for a range refresh. I could also see it being Orcs, and I wouldn't also be surprised to see it just go back to being a Chaos Army and just having it be Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah. It's because I don't think it would be like Thousand Suns or any of the smaller Chaos
No,
armies.
it feels like it's going to be. I feel like it should be Chaos Space Marines. If I was going to pick, like, go back to Chaos Army and maybe give it Chaos Space Marines, or they do it for like the Dark Mech release or something like that. If they were going to bring out a new army this edition,
Dark Mech would be fucking amazing.
Dark Mech would be cool.
Can we have an
BOF has
Mech
4
versus-
garbage strats. That's true, actually. I do appreciate that, but it didn't start out that way. It used to only be 2.
That's very true. Yeah, I honestly for 11th launch, I just wish they wouldn't do Marines.
I think it'd be really cool if it was like, as much as I hate it, like CSMV Orcs,
Oh, that would be so much fun.
just like the War for Armageddon or something like that. But Marines need the Marines. We need Primaris Assault Terminators, so it's gotta be Marines.
Can we just get those without an edition box instead?
They just brought out the Space Wolves kit. Like, no.
Oh man.
Oh, that kit's
Alright.
so cool. I hope it
Alright.
has helmets. I haven't looked at it yet.
All right. Bobby asks a second question on the lighter side of questions: cake or pie? What kind and why?
I had steak pie for dinner, but I don't feel like that counts.
I mean, that is pretty good though.
It's pretty good, but I'm gonna say I prefer cake personally. But really, yeah, cake. I think
What kind of cake?
it's a tougher question, but like I'm a big fan of birthday cake. I'm not gonna lie. Like I just really enjoy birthday cake.
It's nice and simple.
Part of
Works
it's the
nicely.
occasion, I think, but it's just nice to celebrate people. But I'm a bigger fan of fondant than I think I should be. So
Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. I'm a pie person. Specifically, a nice strawberry rhubarb pie.
good shot. Ooh, cheesecake is a cake, right? That counts.
Cheesecake, a cake or a pie?
It really feels pie coated, but it's called the cheesecake.
Yeah, but like it's got like a crust and then a filling on top.
It's really more of like while it's not a pastry dish, it's a pastry dessert, right? Like it feels like it's in the same category as like a muffin or stuff like that.
I mean, Ben is in chat right now because he woke up.
Ben
Sorry,
is
you're
a
not
muffin
feeling well,
cake and
Ben.
is a cheesecake a cake.
And while we're at it, what are Jaffa cakes?
Awful.
All right. Next question is Nick G. How do I approach the host of Ascension into Lions matchup?
Overwatch them every time they
Reactive
move.
moving wardens make me sad.
Overwatch them every time they move and surround them with bodies.
I was going to say ingressing in front of a charge target sounds very funny.
Rapid ingress. Do you want to pop your over? Do you want to pop in the charge phase? Oh, I can see 2 units. Do you want to pop both of them? Saboteur, charge mortals. They're trivial. You should not be losing to Custodes. Harass the backfield, indirect like escort a sister to death, and then go back there, and the game is over because Custodes also can't turn around. And if you ever lose a 20-man, just bring a 20-man back, drop it down, and ask them if they want to pop their funeral pain because they have to. Because you could spend 3 CP, and then you'll probably kill them because you could do +1 to wound and crit 5s, and then if you do that, they have a bad time. So they have to pop it against an unled 20-man, even in that situation.
Ben says a cheesecake is not a cake, it's a tart.
But Floof says it's a cake, and I believe in Floof.
Isn't a tart just a smaller pie?
Isn't a tart just a cake?
We're gonna get
it's a tautological argument.
Well, so the perfect question has been asked right after this, which Rickard has asked. First, if tomatoes are a fruit, does that make ketchup a fruit smoothie?
No.
And 2, some folks I talk to are down on Infernal Lance. Personally, I think it has a lot of juice. What are your thoughts? Go back to like the beginning of the episode.
I
We
think
were
it's a
talking about the
ketchup
gas that
smoothie.
Infernal Lance has. I mean, it's not a smoothie because it's like smoothies.
It's not smooth. It's not smooth. Like
well,
I can admire Heinz for
lacking,
consistency,
like,
but
ice
it's
or
not
something.
smooth.
Yeah, I like what Scotch says. It's a fruit sauce.
I don't like that either.
Mm-hmm. Next is Floof just lost all respect, saying that deep dish is also pizza. Pie requires a pastry crust. Yeah, but you can have a cheesecake with a pastry crust, can't you?
Is a biscuit base a pastry crust?
No, I guess it's not. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But most tarts have pastry crust, don't they? Okay, we're getting way in the weeds on this.
This is not Warhammer content.
All right, Luke G asked, "Love Innis's appearance in Auto War Down Under." By the way, go check that out. It was a really fun episode to listen to.
Thank you.
Going off that appearance, on one topic they covered was terrain and how everything is ruins. Does the gang have thoughts on what could be added or changed about terrain and cover so every game doesn't feel like the downtown New York City?
I don't see enough buildings that are dressed as Louis Vuitton bags for it to be downtown New York City before we get started. But that was a wild thing to see when I was walking around. Country's a theme park. I think you need to cut down weapon range across the board.
Cut every weapon range unless it's already 12 in half.
Half seems optimistic, but I was going to say like everything scales from 12 to 9, right? Just 25% off on everything. So
24 becomes 18.
24 becomes 18, 36 becomes 27. And like you just deal with there being 3-inch increments. Like it's fine. We can handle it.
I mean, weapons being in 3-inch increments is fine.
Exactly.
It's basically what we already have.
Yeah, they're already like 15 and 30-inch range guns. It's not that crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just
it's weird for like rapid fire, but
sick, dude. You round up everything that rapid fire goes to 10, or you do it like 12 goes to 10, right? And it's just 5.
Or you just don't put any rapid fire on anything that has an odd number.
Sure. Yeah. Bolter's 18 goes to 9. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think you need to just make cover do something different.
Yeah.
Just totally.
Like it comes down to the number of ruins that we have on the tables these days came about because of just how goddamn shooty the game is.
Yeah. What I think you could probably do is you could implement terrain features that like if you implemented woods, you would implement them as like a terrain feature that if models are in it, they are not visible, but you can see through it. Or something to that degree.
Or you can't see through it, but you can see into it, but
that's
at like a negative or something. No, but like at like a negative or something. So
like
there's
-1 to hit for dense cover.
No, not like -1 to hit. Like no rerolls.
Yeah, sure. Like these all disproportionately affect different kinds of armies, right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
So like -1 to hit versus no rerolls versus no crits versus like all these things could be, I think that's an interesting space for this game, by the way. Units that are immune to critical hits. That'd be a cool thing to do. I was watching Pokemon content earlier.
Armies are left to come out.
Grey Knights.
Grey Knights.
Grey Knights, true warning. They can't be affected by critical hits or wounds.
You could basically never damage.
It'd be a really cool enhancement for like a character. Or like Abaddon to have, right?
Let's give him a 2-up field of pain against mortal wounds.
Give Abaddon toughness 6.
Is he only T5?
Yeah, dude, he's T5 8 wounds or T5 9 wounds. Man, is 3 Terminators in a trench coat.
All right.
I've had him lose combat with a Gravis Captain before.
Yeah, I can see that happen. I don't know. It's like, yeah, I think you need to reduce range and maybe shrink armies so that the Alpha Strike potential is less.
Sure, yeah. Implement that. Yeah, like shrink armies across the whole again. Like, honestly, I think we should probably just move to playing 1,500 points or something stupid, something like that.
Like 2,000 point armies are quite large compared to what we used to play with.
Every time I look at a Marine army, I'm like, this is a Marine army from 7th edition plus 6 tanks.
Yeah. So
tanks are just too cheap this edition, man. I just don't think any tank should be under 200 points.
That could be
if it's a mainline battle tank,
actually durable.
And they can be durable and they can actually do damage.
But you can't make them like 200, 250 points. And like Land Raiders like 350, 400. And then Knights are like 1,000 points for a big Knight.
Look, man. A Bloodthirster should be a 500-point murder machine.
Yeah. As opposed to like a 300-point. Sometimes.
300-point sometimes bounces machine. Yeah.
Whoops. That's right. Bring back Ignore Invulns. That's what we really want.
That's just Dev Wounds.
No, because Dev Wounds you have a Field No Pain against.
You got a Field No Pain against Ignore Invulns.
No, you don't. Not if your Field No Pain's only against mortals.
You lost me. I'm moving on. I want to go to bed, Jeremy.
All right. We'll power through the next little bit. Follow-up question for the older editions: why we didn't need as much terrain? They didn't have these problems? Was it actually less lethal game shooting wise?
We did have these problems. We just played on less terrain and sucked it up.
Yeah, Leaf Lore
You
Guard.
think people didn't shoot hard in 5th and 6th and 7th editions, bro?
Yeah.
Riptides used to quad fire. Riptides used to fire 4 times, bro. 4 times. 4. And they hit on 2s, and they were in squads of 3.
Triptide comes for everyone every edition.
It was 7-tide, my man.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mark asks, what position would you be putting armies in a teams pairing for 5s and 8s to go out and get big wins?
3rd defender, champion, and situational attackers are your strongest roles.
John, the King Potato asks, top 3 placing predictions. Also,
We did
Dark
that.
Horse Country prediction.
We did that.
We didn't do a Dark Horse.
I put China in 2nd.
You were trolling with that. I think
I
the Dark Horse is going to be Scotland. This is their year where they get back that podium.
Fuck you. How dare you put expectations on us?
All right. Andy asks, when are you having an episode with Josie to talk all about her unbeaten run with Cult of Blood World Eater, so I don't have to keep badgering her across multiple Discords for information on the army?
It is on the to-do list. I also need to do the Mind Goblins episode this week, so it might be a next week thing, but I would like to reach out to Josie. I just need to find time. Like, I did double content last week, external to StatCheck, so I didn't do one last week. But there will be one this week and hopefully next week to follow. I just need to find the time to record. But Josie, I will do my best to get in touch because it is a really cool thing that I would like to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's super fun. John Johnson says, every year there's one crazy WTC tech no one thought of before that becomes a meta staple for the next year, like bike spam GSC a few years back, or the harm assist in Bolt Storm Requesters. What are some of your favorite examples from years past? I mean, the 10 Deathwing Knights with the captain was very funny.
Fuegan came out of WTC 2 years ago, right? That no one was playing Fuegan before that. And then Duda showed up with him, was like, I have the young Phoenix. And then Fuegan was the best data sheet in the game for 3 months or 6 months or tentatively
I think
10
it was
months.
about 4 or 5 months.
Sako's chosen list was probably the standout for me from that WTC, actually. Like, no one had looked at chosen. And then Sako was just like, what if these were broken? And then they were. And then it took over the meta game until like the end of LGT through sort of January the year after. Bonet's ACDC Renegade Raiders list last year was really cool for France for Tanker alongside Olivier's list. It was their like double pin Thousand Suns combo. I think that was really cool. Leshu's Land Raider full of addressers from 3 years ago. I'm trying to think back to like the first WTC I did was 2017. That was ye olden days. I didn't play, but that was Index 8th edition, so nobody knew what was going on. The second one, there was nothing. I don't remember anything like strictly innovative from my second or third years. I'm sure if I look back at it, like I have the list docs in a binder in my cupboard because they used to give us a physical copy of all the lists back in the day. But I don't actually remember that off my head. No, moving on. Lost it.
All right. Davin asks, which WTC teams cooking their lists like Uncle Roger or Jamie Oliver?
Oh, we should do a Jamie Oliver or Uncle Roger tier list next
once we have the list out.
We're like, did this team cook or is this team cooked?
I'm down for that. Let's just say we're going to hold that. Hilarious. This thread title is 8 June, and we are living in the past before the IKCK buffs.
Look, I have lost track of time, dimensions, and my mental state. I
didn't even notice it. I clicked over.
I noticed it right now.
Isaac CC Terada asks, what army do you think will win Tacoma? All right, that is coming up in like a week or so.
Tacoma, is that a real tournament?
I mean, it's a super major and it's a GW tournament, so the meta always tends to be kind of funky out of those. I'm just gonna go on a limb and say Imperial Knights because it'll be funny.
I think Death Guard are gonna win it because Death Guard win everything.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unless Josh is there, in which case somehow it's space.
He's not allowed to play GW.
I know he's not.
Oh, I didn't know if Flu's going to be there. In that case, I'm going to say GSC.
I'm definitely not saying GSC then.
So mean. You want to run GSC practice into me? I promise I'm not a WTC player.
No, I will not. You can suffer in silence.
Then another person making fun of you for renaming it June 8th, not July 8th. Freya asks, can you take a few minutes to talk about your favorite non-40k book?
A few minutes? No, but 30 seconds? Do you want to?
Yeah, go for it.
No, you start.
No,
I haven't even decided yet. I haven't even. No, I did first earlier. You have to go first.
All right, fine. It's probably a comic series On Guard for Thee.
Okay, why?
Because it is a Just absolutely hilarious story where it's a dystopian world where the U.S. invades Canada, and it follows basically a ragtag group of freedom fighters who are standing up against them.
Nice. I don't actually know if I have a favorite book. I hate that, but I feel like I should. Fuck. Yeah, no, I don't. I'm really sorry. I don't have a favorite book right now. I barely read it at the moment. I'm really struggling to keep momentum going on Malazan, so I just have it sat. But it's come to like 4 tournaments with me international. I brought it to Vegas with me, and I've still not gotten through it. We struggling, we grinding, we working on it. But I do love Malazan. It's been great. I also have all of the like Wheel of Times and all that stuff. There's loads of books behind me, but favorite book is tough. I don't know. Whatever I read most recently. That's just kind of how it works.
All right, Jeff, Death Company Forklift pointed to something from like a couple weeks ago. Pius putting his question in the wrong spot. How should tourneys handle partial releases FOMO boxes? They're not allowed. Simple.
They probably
Done.
shouldn't let them, but they're
And
really
FOMO
good
boxes
for,
just shouldn't exist in the first place to solve
they're
this
really
problem.
good for like getting information on a book before it's legal for the public. Like we probably know that Space Wolves don't need emergency patched. And if Death Guard had been in one, we probably would have gotten an emergency patch for them. So I think every army should be in one and should have a month cooling off period before it's legal in tournaments.
Man, remember when there was like had to be out for 2 weeks and
Yep.
or an FAQ before released?
I
I mean,
think we
their
should
FAQs now are actually dropping with them, so
I think it should be there should be a 2-week cooling off period before major tournaments. Unfortunately, that will not sell tickets, so don't really remember we'll ever do it.
yeah. And not only that, but the de facto is now just if it came out the week before, it's legal.
Also, I changed the question thread name to July, so all of your questions retroactively look stupid.
It still
You're all
says
idiots.
question thread. Oh, now it says it.
Yeah, see? Like, you're all stupid.
All right. Bryn asked, what would Jeremy like to see in the voting codex? I already said what I'd like to see in there.
Beam plane.
I want a walker. I don't want a plane. The beam plane is so ninth.
I want
Actually,
it to be the no.
I want to see
it
a
to be
proper
the
land
ancestral
train.
I want it to be the head, like the ancestral core head that just flies about like the heads from Rick and Morty. And it just beam planes. And it's got the old beam rule, like the draw lines. All right. John Johnson asks, can we get a tier list for armies to take on planes? Custodes. Custodes is number 1. You can fit Custodes in your jacket pocket.
Custodes. Most marine armies are pretty compact too.
I've flown with everything up to and including hordes. It's fine. Lower your standards for protecting your models. KR cases are my favorite. Anthony uses a Magnarak. Yeah.
I mean, I fit an entire like the really stupid Thick Suns list last year into a single Magnarak, so you can fit anything into those.
Yeah. Cover. What's that? Always versus whatever. I hate how common to ignore cover is. And I say this as a Gene Slurcop player.
I would like to, it's one of these things where I've gotten to the point where at events, I will say, if you think your opponent has cover, or if you think you have cover, you probably do.
Look, it's as Brian said, and as the number one arguer of cover, if you argue about having cover better than your opponent, you have cover. And that's how this edition works.
You have argued for the cover.
No, bro. My rivets in cover. And Isaac asks, do you think Teasons will ever get firing deck FAQ? God, I hope not.
I hope that they do, and it's just an errata saying no.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I don't think they should be allowed to have firing deck. I don't think you should be allowed to fire wizard powers at the top of a firing deck vehicle, and I refuse to back down on that.
You could say no psychic attacks.
It technically does. In the core rules, it says that you need to be a psyker model to fire psychic weapons.
Let's not start that, because then pinks can't shoot at all.
Good. I think I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that as a casual. I will gladly fall on that sword. Give the pinks the psyker keyword. That seems like an easy problem.
I think my favorite thing was realizing that that demon princes aren't psychers anymore, apparently.
They are not, because they don't gain the psyker keyword from the god marks anymore. All right.
Didn't they lose it if they were corn?
Yeah, they used to gain it if they weren't corn.
Okay.
All right. Ben Jurek says, and thank you for the $5. Art War has placed me an IK for an 8-man event this week. Is this evil? That is ontological evil, and you can actually file for compensation. If you dial 1-800 no Imperial Knights now, you will be able to get in contact
Ben's
with our
options were guard or orcs or Eldari.
No, those all sound significantly better than Imperial Knights. Fuck Imperial Knights. Stupid army. Ben was also sick and slept through most of the show. What did you miss? Everything, Ben. We actually gave away all of Poland's list for WTC, and you missed it specifically. And Arkmay asks, as a general question that I'm just reporting here for Jeremy, when's Elo updating? Come on.
Probably the next day or two. Maybe next week. When I feel like it.
Yeah, that's fair.
life's been busy, work's been busy. I try to get it updated every couple weeks now. I sometimes miss that, but it was updated a week and a half ago. So
All
I'll
right.
try to get this weekend's up in the next day or two.
The last thing we have to do is the cult of the high five, which I'll do to spare Jeremy the ignominy. All right. So, thank you to everybody for being with the show. We're going to do the plugs. We're going to do the last plugs now, which is they call it the high five call out. This is for anybody who's in our $15 a month tier. They get to be on the super cool shout out at the end of the show section. So, if you want to be on that, do join that tier on Patreon or YouTube members. Otherwise, thank you guys for being with us. We'll do a final watch out at the end of this. But thank you to Christopher, finally remembered to obviously this message before the show, Potatoes Irvine. Thank you to Willow Weeks. Thank you to Dan F. Thank you to Luke Harron's taking the subway McCarthy. Thank you to David. Let us play hide and slay Clark. Thank you to IEAIAIO Ear. Thank you to James H. Thank you to Colton Dan F. Miller. Thank you to Fungus. Thank you to I'm the bad knight and you're the good knight. You're just a little goody two shoes. Little goody two shoes good. I'm the bad guy with towering and rerolls. That was way longer than I thought it was when I started. Thank you to Cam F. Dan Morton Hog Emoji Hog Emoji. Thank you to Arkonor Hall. Nothing silly this week. Just wishing everyone all the best with their events. Thank you to Josiah Gattle. Thank you to Dreadlord Frankie. Thank you to Isaac. I wish I had someone who loved me like the WTC players love their psyops, Tarada. Thank you to Please Save Us from Knights and Death Guard. Thank you to Thomas now taking orders for Stroopwafel liqueur to be delivered at the WTC for Koyan. Thank you to Stephen O. 9 wounds on 5 shots. Can we just change his name to Anus Rex because my ass can't handle the hand of freedom? Ross. Thank you to Tom. Chicago style is not pizza H. Thank you to If Tomatoes Are a Fruit, does that make super heavy walkers have true line of sight at all times? Thank you to Hardy Painting 2 Atch Boss because I am McWarp's strongest soldier. Thank you to our sponsors of the week, Canis' Gaming Chairs, wreaks havoc on the battlefield with lumbar support that'll have you feel no pain in your quest. Don't despoil yourself. God, this is so long. Don't despoil yourself from a good time and use code 6+++ to ignore 50% of the damage. Thank you to Gucci question mark. Thank you to we, the host of StatCheck, collectively believe that Challenger cards are the single greatest addition to competitive 40k. And thank you to Can Innes win an RTT without shooting. We really appreciate all you guys. Thank you to Cal for saying you buzzing see me at WC. Yes, I am. And Jeremy's booking a flight. You're going to be there? Hell yeah, dude. I can't wait.
Wait,
I haven't seen you in ages.
Oh, fuck's sakes.
Yeah, but you better get on my content thing.
Oh, god damn it, Cattle.
Oh, Christ. All right, guys. That has been it for us for the episode 144. We'll be back next week. If you want to hear even more from us, check out the back episodes on youtube.com/statcheck. You can catch the extra content that we did this week on the Fireside Masterclass, and you can, which you can first search by Googling Fireside 40k Space Marine Masterclass and the Artwork Down Under episode. Otherwise, we hope you have a great time. We'll catch you next week. We'll have WTC lists. We'll have WTC takes. We'll have horrible psyop to throw again as we talk about why we brought the list we did that aren't the real ones, because of course we will. Otherwise, have a fantastic time. Good luck at a tournament if you're at one this weekend. If you happen to be at the Saltar RTT in Scotland, come say hi. I probably gave you dice last time because there's like 3 people that do that. But otherwise, see you later.